As the scene opens, we are greeted with a breathtaking view of an ancient ruin nestled deep within a lush, green forest. The towering stone arches, partially broken and weathered by time, hint at the grandeur of a forgotten civilization. Below, a group of adventurers gathers, their presence filling the air with hushed murmurs and the occasional excited chatter. Among them, a blonde-haired young man is called over by his companion. "Hey, human! Come here for a sec!" The call piques his interest, and he turns his attention to an unexpected sight. A small, anthropomorphic cat, dressed like a traveling merchant. The feline, standing upright on two legs, gestures eagerly with its tiny paws. "Don't you want to check out some good stuff?" the cat says with an inviting grin, its golden fur gleaming under the sun. Huanui and his group react with surprise and delight. "Whoa, a wandering merchant cat," one of them exclaims in amazement. "It's so cute," another adds, unable to resist the feline's charm. Curiosity takes hold as Huanui inquires, "What are you selling?" In response, the cat presents its wares with a flourish, holding up a single glistening red cherry tomato. The young adventurer blinks in confusion. "Huh? A cherry tomato?" he mutters, clearly expecting something far more mystical or valuable. His companion expresses the same sentiment. "What is that? I was expecting some rare treasure, like an unknown artifact or something." The merchant cat, unfazed by their reaction, simply shrugs. "Just a common cherry tomato, eh?" The unimpressed adventurers exchange glances. "We can buy things like that anytime we want," they remark, their initial excitement fading. Yet, something about the cat's confident demeanor suggests there may be more to this ordinary fruit than meets the eye. The merchant cat scoffs, eyes gleaming with amusement. "Foolish humans. I knew you would react that way," it declares confidently, raising the cherry tomato. But then, with a flicker of energy, the small fruit emits a faint glow, hinting at something extraordinary. "This is different from the cherry tomato, you know," the cat states, its voice brimming with mystery. Intrigued, one of the adventurers quickly inspects the tomato's status window. "Wait! What?" they exclaim, shock washing over their face. Displayed before them is the truth. Magical cherry tomato. Decomposes 10 g of fat per bite for 10 minutes. A realization dawns upon the group. This isn't just any ordinary fruit. So, eating this can literally burn fat? One adventurer's eyes widen in disbelief. "Is this really possible?" another asks, struggling to comprehend the implications. As if the floodgates had opened, chaos erupts. "I'll buy 200, shouts one adventurer. "No, 300, yells another. More and more adventurers rush forward, desperate to claim their share. The merchant cat, basking in the sudden demand, grins slyly. "I want 500, someone shouts, pushing forward in a frenzy. With a triumphant laugh, the cat exclaims, "This is the power of supply and demand, my dear customers." It revels in the success, already seeing its profits soar. Meanwhile, a skeptical figure watches from the sidelines, narrowing his eyes. "Where did you even find those things?" he asks, suspicious of the merchant cat's source. The cat pauses, then smirks knowingly. "That's..." It turns away dramatically. "A secret." The scene shifts to a hidden, untouched valley. Lush, green, and thriving with bright red cherry tomatoes. The warm sunlight filters through the lush greenery as a young man carefully plucks a ripe cherry tomato from the vine. He inspects it closely, wiping the sweat from his forehead before letting out a relieved sigh. "Phew," he exhales, taking a brief moment to rest. Beside him, a small, white rabbit-like creature with a blue scarf watches attentively. The young man looks down at the tray full of freshly picked cherry tomatoes, satisfied with the harvest. I think these tomatoes are enough for today," he muses. Nearby, a group of similar rabbit-like creatures gathers under the shade of the tomato plants. One of them stretches before calling out, "Guys, let's take some rest." The others quickly follow, settling down comfortably. The young man, however, isn't done just yet. He pulls out a black container and carefully places some of the cherry tomatoes inside. After a moment, he holds it up and calls out, "More honey, please." Right on cue, A small bee-like creature with a distinctive mask and hat buzzes over. With precision, it squeezes out a golden drop of honey into the container. The young man nods in satisfaction, then firmly grips the container and begins shaking it vigorously. With a firm twist, the young man opens the container, revealing a thick, glossy red sauce inside. The rich aroma immediately spreads through the air, catching the attention of the rabbit-like creatures nearby. Excited by the results, he stands confidently, placing a hand on his hip. The small creatures eagerly gather around him, their eyes sparkling with anticipation. One by one, they hop closer, making small, impatient noises. The young man chuckles as he watches their enthusiasm. All right, he says, amused. As he begins serving the sauce, a system notification suddenly appears before him. Magical cherry tomato honey mix created. Plus 125% happiness for tamed creatures. A satisfied smile spreads across his face. Now this, he declares, lifting the container with pride, is how life should be. But just as he revels in his success, the eager creatures let out a loud, collective cry. Pya! Demanding more. Their ears twitch expectantly, and their tiny paws tap against the ground. Another system message pops up. Ingredients fully consumed, unable to make more at the moment. The young man freezes for a second, then glances at the rabbits, who now look visibly disappointed. He hesitates, sweat forming on his brow. But, he starts, only to sigh in defeat. Okay, I'll make you some later. Instantly, their expressions brighten, and a new message humorously appears in front of him. Disappointment avoided. With that crisis averted, the young man shakes his head, realizing just how much these little creatures love his cooking. The sun casts a warm glow over the peaceful valley as Seijun stands with a relaxed posture, holding his black container. Around him, the rabbit-like creatures move about, seemingly content after their meal. Suddenly, a voice calls out, breaking the calm atmosphere. Seijun turns his head, just in time to see a small figure leaping dramatically through the air. It's T, the feline merchant, making a flashy entrance as he lands with a confident stance. From the side, another man with dark blue hair swiftly catches T mid-air, barely fazed by the cat's abrupt return. T wastes no time showing off a heavy pouch filled with gleaming coins, his expression one of pride and accomplishment. Seijun responds with a smirk, seemingly impressed. There's a light-hearted exchange between them as T revels in his success, his excitement practically radiating from him. He lifts his chin with a smug grin, as if envisioning even greater business ventures ahead. However, their conversation is quickly interrupted by a sudden commotion. A black-furred rabbit rushes forward, its movements frantic as it waves a small pouch of coins. Clearly, it's eager to make a purchase before time runs out. Seijun and T exchange glances, realizing that their business is far from over. The demand is growing, and it seems like things are only getting busier from here. Near the riverside, the once calm atmosphere is now filled with movement as T and the Black Rabbit continue their busy exchange. Coins are traded, deals are made, and business thrives. A short distance away, Seijun stands observing the scene, seemingly amused by how much attention their honey has garnered. His expression shifts slightly as a thought crosses his mind. He lifts a hand to his forehead, as if recalling something important. Turning away from the bustling trade, he walks toward a nearby rock wall. Taking a closer look, he reaches out and starts marking it with a piece of charcoal. As he steps back, the markings come into full view, rows upon rows of tally marks, carefully recorded. He studies them for a moment before breaking into a small, satisfied smile. It's been 150 days. The realization settles in, and he takes a deep breath, as if acknowledging just how long he's been in this place. Before he can linger on the thought for too long, the Black Rabbit suddenly hops onto his shoulder, its small paws gripping onto him. Seijun turns his head, slightly surprised, but quickly grins at the rabbit's eagerness. T, never one to be left out, jumps onto his other side, perching comfortably with a confident expression. It seems like, no matter how much time has passed, Seijun isn't facing this journey alone. A bright light shines down from above, illuminating the underground farmland where lush crops stretch across the soil. Small creatures move about, tending to the plants, while the bees continue their diligent work, buzzing through the air. Sejun stands at the edge of the field, gazing over the land he has cultivated. The black rabbit remains perched on his shoulder, its ears twitching as it observes the scene alongside him. T, ever the curious merchant, sits nearby, watching intently. With a thoughtful expression, Sejun takes a deep breath, rolling his shoulders as if preparing for what comes next. He raises his container, gripping it firmly. Then, with a determined look, he straightens up. It's time to move forward. A confident smile spreads across his face as he turns to his companions. With a slight tilt of his head, he signals the start of another day. Shall we begin? The scene shifts, and a new story begins. A decade ago, under a bright blue sky, an enormous, otherworldly structure suddenly appeared in the heart of Seoul. Towering high above the city, its sheer size and presence were impossible to ignore. But it wasn't just Seoul. Similar towers emerged across various cities around the world, each one identical in form. Governments and scientists scrambled to understand their origin, yet no amount of research could uncover their true nature. The only certainty was that these mysterious structures were made of an unknown material, impervious even to the most destructive weapons. Despite countless efforts, no one could penetrate the tower's walls. They stood unyielding, an enigma looming over humanity. Then, everything changed. One day, figures emerged from within the tower, people who had been lost to its depths. Armed, battle-worn, and transformed by whatever trials they had endured, they stepped into the world once more. And with their return, the secrets of the tower began to unravel. A tense atmosphere fills the air as a group of people surrounds the newly returned individuals who had emerged from the tower. Confusion, curiosity, and urgency mix together as they bombard the returnees with questions. The survivors, dressed in rugged adventurer attire, stand under the weight of countless eyes. One of them steps forward, attempting to explain their experience. Flashes of past events reveal what had happened inside, how they were suddenly pulled into the tower through a dark void. Upon entering, they found themselves on the first floor, where they were forced to make a critical choice. Documents and news reports begin circulating rapidly, detailing the shocking discovery. All 100 towers around the world are connected as one. A deeper understanding of the tower's mechanics starts to form. Every person who enters is marked on the first floor and must choose a designated role, either a magician or a warrior. The moment they ascend to the second floor, monsters begin to appear, marking the start of their true trials. Inside a grand hall, an official conference is held, with experts and survivors gathered to discuss the tower's mysteries. Rows of officials, researchers, and journalists listen intently as crucial information is shared. One key revelation stands out. Each time a floor is cleared, participants receive different rewards. Among them, a mysterious golden ticket appears to be of particular importance. A hand holds up the shimmering ticket as someone in the crowd voices the question lingering in everyone's mind. What is that ticket? The answer to this question may change everything. A golden ticket glows brilliantly, floating in the air as its significance is explained. It is an item, one of the most coveted rewards obtained by climbing the tower. However, its true purpose remains a mystery, as only those who continue ascending can fully grasp its value. Inside a grand conference hall, experts and officials gather, debating its worth. Some speculate that it could grant privileges within the tower, while others question whether it holds value outside of it. The discussion grows heated as uncertainty lingers. Then, a dramatic demonstration takes place. A well-dressed individual confidently approaches the podium, holding a case. With a decisive motion, they open it, revealing an overwhelming pile of gleaming gold spilling onto the table. The sheer amount is enough to leave the audience stunned. Gasps and murmurs fill the room as the realization sinks in. Climbing the tower leads to immense wealth. The once skeptical crowd now erupts into a frenzy, their doubts replaced with excitement and greed. From a high balcony, influential figures watch the chaos unfold, their expressions filled with knowing amusement. They had already come to one undeniable conclusion. The tower isn't just a place of mystery and danger, it's a gateway to unimaginable riches. And now, the race to conquer it has truly begun. A news broadcast flashes across the screen, reporting on the explosive rise in ticket prices for entering the tower. The demand has skyrocketed, with hundreds of eager buyers lining up in hopes of securing their chance before the cost increases further. Sejun watches the report with a neutral expression, his mind processing the implications. The world around him is changing rapidly, gripped by tower fever. Conversations in public spaces echo the same excitement. People desperate to climb, believing fortune awaits them inside. As he moves through the bustling city, he overhears a couple discussing the madness surrounding the tower. One of them shakes their head, bewildered by how people are willing to spend millions just for a chance to enter. The other laughs, pointing out that Sejun himself might be caught up in the same craze. With a small chuckle, he acknowledges the comment but says nothing more. His name flashes on the screen. Park Sejun, age 26. Later, he checks his finances on his phone, calculating his savings after deducting his living expenses. The ever-rising ticket prices appear again, 12 million won, a number that keeps climbing. As he walks down a dimly lit staircase, a thought lingers in his mind. He's been carefully preparing, waiting for the right moment. And now, the time to buy his ticket into the tower may finally be approaching. As the sun sets over the city, the sky is painted in hues of orange and purple. Sejun stands on a viewing deck, gazing at the towering structure that looms over everything. The golden light reflects off its surface, making it seem even more imposing. Lost in thought, he considers the sheer magnitude of the tower's presence. It has changed the world, reshaping economies, ambitions, and even daily life. The question lingers in his mind. Would finally entering the tower change his life too? As he walks through the city streets, exhaustion washes over him. Saving money for a ticket has been harder than expected, and frustration begins to settle in. However, he quickly shakes off the negativity, giving himself a pep talk to stay motivated. He racks his brain for ways to earn more money. Looking down at the bundle of green onions in his hands, an idea sparks. If tower entry is still out of reach, perhaps he should focus on something more immediate, like growing and selling vegetables. A memory resurfaces. An advertisement featuring Sarah, his favorite idol, promoting a gardening product. The idea seemed silly at first, but now it might just be worth considering. A small smirk forms on his face as a new plan begins to take shape. As the city lights flicker around him, Sejun walks with a renewed sense of determination. Holding his bundle of green onions, he plans his next steps, saving as much money as possible to finally buy a ticket into the tower. A playful thought crosses his mind. If he hones his farming skills, maybe he'll even get discovered for his talents. A fantasy unfolds in his imagination. Him, standing victorious after clearing the tower, being invited to join the elite moonlight party alongside his favorite idol, Sarah. Lost in daydreams of fame and fortune, a silly grin spreads across his face. He clenches his fist in determination. Keep it up, Park Sejun. But in the next moment, reality shatters. A swirling black vortex suddenly appears before him, crackling with blue energy. The sheer force of it distorts the air around him, and his body reacts instinctively. His eyes widen in shock. This isn't normal. The eerie glow of the portal intensifies, and before he can process what's happening, he feels himself being pulled in. People around him react with horror. Vanishing? The phenomenon is known. It signifies the sudden disappearance of someone, often linked to those who become part of the awakened. But for Sejun, there's no time to think. The darkness swallows him whole. Sejun's eyes widen as he stares at the swirling black vortex before him. The crackling energy, the eerie glow, it all feels surreal. But instead of fear, excitement surges through him. Could this be his long-awaited chance? A realization strikes him, and his heart pounds with anticipation. If this portal is connected to the tower, if it's here to take him, then this is his moment. With newfound determination, he straightens his posture, clenching his fists. His gaze sharpens as he makes his decision. He's ready. Declaring his resolve, Sejun boldly steps forward, arms outstretched, embracing his fate. The portal looms before him, pulsing as if waiting for his approach. The air around it distorts, humming with an unknown force, and then, just as he reaches out, the black hole reacts. Sejun watches in panic as the swirling black portal in front of him begins to shrink. The glowing vortex, which he had just seen as his golden opportunity, is now rapidly fading away. His heart races. No, this can't be happening. Without hesitation, he lunges forward, desperately reaching out. He won't let this chance slip through his fingers. Determined, he breaks into a full sprint, his footsteps pounding against the wooden planks as he closes the distance. The portal flickers, its edges destabilizing, threatening to vanish completely. Not if he has anything to say about it. With one final push, he leaps toward the fading rift, arm outstretched. His body is bathed in the eerie blue light as the portal pulls him in, just in time. And in the next instant, he disappears. Sejun hurtles through the void, engulfed by swirling energy as he is forcefully transported. The sensation is overwhelming. His body feels weightless, yet his mind spins in chaos. Then, with a sudden impact, he crashes onto the ground. A cloud of dust kicks up around him as he groans, feeling the rough earth beneath his palms. The fall wasn't graceful, but he's alive. Dazed, he pushes himself up, glancing around. The surroundings aren't what he expected. Instead of an extravagant first-floor plaza or a grand hall welcoming new challengers, he finds himself in what appears to be an underground cavern. Confusion sets in. Did something go wrong? The dimly lit space stretches before him, with uneven rocky walls enclosing the area. The only source of illumination comes from a gaping hole above, where sunlight pours in, casting an ethereal glow over a single stone platform in the distance. Sejun's breath steadies as he takes in the sight. This isn't normal. Something is off. And as the cavern hums with an eerie energy, he realizes his journey into the tower has begun, but not in the way he had imagined. Sejun groggily lifts his head, his body still aching from the rough impact. His hands press against the dry ground as he tries to steady himself. What is this? His voice trembles with confusion as he takes in his surroundings. He had expected to arrive in a bustling plaza filled with challengers, yet he finds himself in an empty, unfamiliar landscape. What the hell? He stumbles to his feet, his heart pounding. The area around him is vast and open, a mix of wild greenery and stone. Turning in every direction, he sees no signs of life, no other people, no towering gates, nothing that matches what he had heard about the tower's entrance. Then, as panic fully sets in, he looks up. The sky stretches endlessly above him, and in the far distance, the tower stands, colossal and unreachable, piercing through the clouds like a divine structure. A sinking realization hits him like a stone in his gut. Where the hell am I? This isn't the first-floor plaza. Something has gone terribly wrong. In a dark, ominous chamber, a mysterious figure looms over a glowing crystal ball, its eerie purple light pulsing with energy. The figure's piercing eyes reflect the swirling glow as an unsettling realization dawns upon them. The crystal ball has detected an anomaly within the tower, a disturbance, a change that wasn't supposed to happen. The figure tightens their grip, their gaze sharpening. This wasn't normal. Something or someone has disrupted the tower's balance. As the manager of the tower, they cannot ignore it. They must find the cause and deal with it. Meanwhile, standing alone in the unfamiliar landscape, Sejun stretches his arms, completely unaware of the attention he has just drawn. Whatever has happened, his arrival in this place has not gone unnoticed. The Black Tower. What kind of place is it, really? Sejun recalls the countless interviews, articles, and videos he had seen about it before. The way people described it painted a picture of grandeur, a vast, shining palace, filled with powerful adventurers and endless opportunities. Many spoke of the training grounds, calling it the most important facility on the first floor. It was said to be essential for survival, a place where newcomers could prepare themselves before facing the monsters that lurked deeper within. And of course, there were the shops. With the right amount of tower coins, one could buy all sorts of items: gear, weapons, potions, anything needed to make climbing easier. That was the image Sejun had in his mind. That was what everyone had told him about the tower. But this... A deep, unsettling rumble shakes the ground, snapping him out of his thoughts. He sits alone in the dim cavern, gripping his knees, his backpack and green onions beside him. The realization sets in. Wherever he is, this is nothing like what they described. Sejun's breath grows unsteady as realization dawns upon him. His wide eyes dart around the dimly lit cavern, panic settling deep in his chest. No exit. He had spent an entire day wandering through the cave, searching desperately for a way out. But no matter how far he went, he found nothing. No training grounds, no shops, no signs of life. His voice had echoed through the cavern as he screamed for help, but there was no answer. No one was here. A dreadful thought creeps into his mind. Did I, perhaps, get lost? The cavern stretches before him, vast and empty, the only source of light spilling in from an opening far above. The reality of his situation weighs heavily on him. Then, a nervous chuckle escapes his lips. Ha, 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 as if his mind refuses to accept what's happening. But before he can spiral further, a sudden noise breaks through the silence. Beep, beep, beep. Sejun flinches, his body tensing as he instinctively turns toward the sound. His heart pounds. Something is happening. Sejun checks his phone as the alarm blares, the screen displaying 6 a.m. A full day has passed since he arrived in this strange place. There's no signal, no network connection. But the alarm still works, which means time is moving normally. His stomach growls, cutting through the silence. He's hungry. Among his rations, he also finds 7 pumpkins, sweet potatoes, and a single apple. After a moment's thought, he reaches for the apple. It's the best choice to start the morning. Taking a bite, he savors the crisp sweetness. Refreshing. But as he finishes the last bit, disappointment washes over him. It's not enough. His hunger lingers, and with no clear way to find more food, a troubling thought crosses his mind. How long can he survive like this? Sejun takes a big bite of the potato, the crisp crunch echoing in the quiet cavern. His eyes widen as the sweet, juicy flavor spreads across his tongue. Wow, this texture. Each chew is more satisfying than the last, the perfect balance of crunchiness and sweetness. It tastes even better than he expected. A thought crosses his mind. Back home, they always cooked these, but eating them raw like this, maybe it's fine sometimes. Encouraged by the unexpected deliciousness, he quickly moves on to his next snack. The hunger gnawing at him demands more, but then, a sharp, stinging sensation. His body tenses as an overwhelming dryness spreads in his throat. His eyes widen in alarm. What is this? Coughing violently, he scrambles for his water bottle, desperately gulping down every last drop. The relief washes over him, and with an exhausted sigh, he collapses onto the ground. Staring up at the cavern ceiling, he lets out a breathy chuckle. Ha, that was quite a good meal. For now, his stomach is satisfied. But the real challenge, survival in this unknown place, has only just begun. Sejun lies on the ground, staring up at the open sky through the cavern's ceiling. The distant sunlight feels almost mocking, so close, yet completely out of reach. A heavy sigh escapes him. How long am I supposed to stay here? His gaze shifts to his small pile of food supplies. He has no idea how long they will last. Sitting up, he reaches out toward them, deep in thought. If he doesn't find a way out before he runs out of food, what will happen to him? A grim possibility creeps into his mind. If no one rescues him, he might just wither away here, turning into a dried-up husk. The thought sends a shiver down his spine. No, I don't want to die like this. Suddenly, determination surges through him. This isn't how it was supposed to go. He worked so hard to enter the tower. It was his dream. He can't let it all end before it even begins. With newfound resolve, he clenches his fists, fire igniting in his eyes. He has to do something. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he spots something. The apple seed from the fruit he just ate. His eyes widen as an idea takes shape. If he can't find food, then maybe he can grow it himself. Sejun quickly grabs the seed, his mind racing. This might just be the key to his survival. Sejun carefully plants the apple seed, watching as it disappears beneath the soil. But he doesn't stop there. If he's going to survive, He needs to grow as much food as possible. Glancing at his remaining supplies, he comes up with a plan. He has 10 green onions. He decides to use the leaves as food while planting the root parts, giving them a chance to regrow. Not stopping at just that, he also plants a few cherry tomatoes and 2 sweet potatoes, hoping they'll take root in this strange underground environment. Taking a step back, he surveys his small makeshift farm. It's not much, but it's a start. Determination fills his eyes as he clenches his fists. I will do anything to survive. He straightens up, full of confidence. All he has to do now is wait. With a wide grin, he gestures toward his tiny garden. You are my future. Just as he declares his commitment to farming, a loud, ominous noise erupts from behind him. Sejun spins around, his eyes widening in shock. Something is coming. A deep, ominous rumble shakes the cavern, sending chills down Sejun's spine. What's going on? His heart pounds as an eerie sensation fills the air. This wasn't normal. The first floor of the tower was supposed to be safe. Monsters weren't supposed to appear here. He quickly scans his surroundings, his breath hitching when he looks up. Above him, the sky has changed. The once peaceful cavern ceiling now reflects a vast cosmic abyss. A dark sky dominated by a glowing blue moon. Sejun's body tenses. Blue moon? A sudden, piercing scream rips through the silence, echoing in the cavern like a horrifying wail. The sound is unbearable, inhuman, primal, filled with rage and hunger. Sejun clutches his head as the noise reverberates through his skull, his body trembling from the sheer force of it. Something is coming, and whatever it isn't friendly. A deafening screech fills the air, shaking the cavern as Sejun stumbles backward. His body feels heavy, as if an unseen force is pressing down on him. My body! His limbs tremble, struggling to respond. The overwhelming presence in the air is suffocating. Something powerful has awakened. Through the eerie glow of the blue moon, Sejun forces himself to look up. His breath catches. A massive, dark figure soars through the sky, its wings casting an ominous shadow over the land. The creature's presence alone radiates dominance. Sejun's eyes widen in awe. Black dragon? The way it moves, the sheer power it exudes, it's terrifying. And yet, despite the danger, an undeniable thought slips into his mind. So beautiful. But before he can admire it any further, a shiver runs down his spine. The ground beneath him trembles, and reality snaps back. This is no ordinary sight, and he might not be safe. A faint, mystical glow surrounds the small green shoots planted in the soil, their stems shimmering under the night sky. Something unnatural is happening. Suddenly, the shrill beeping of an alarm cuts through the silence. A phone screen lights up. 6:00 a.m. A weak hand reaches out, trembling slightly as it grasps the device. Ugh, my head. Sejun groggily lifts himself off the ground, his body aching all over. His mind is hazy, struggling to recall what happened. Then, a sudden realization strikes him. For how long was he unconscious? His eyes scan the time again, and dread washes over him. 2 days? I passed out for 2 whole days? Out for 2. His heart pounds as he processes the situation. In this unknown place, losing 2 days could mean the difference between survival and starvation. Panic starts creeping in. What happened while he was unconscious? Sejun groans as he slowly pushes himself up, clutching his lower back. Ugh, my waist. His entire body aches, drained of energy after being unconscious for 2 days. Exhaustion weighs heavily on him, and his stomach twists in hunger. So tired. My whole body hurts. I don't have any energy. With sluggish movements, he reaches for his water bottle, hoping to regain some strength. But as he lifts his head, something catches his eye. He blinks. What the... A tree? Confused, he stares at the towering green stalks in front of him. When did this happen? Scrambling to his feet, he moves closer, eyes widening in disbelief. These aren't trees. Isn't this a green onion? The realization hits him like a shockwave. The small onion roots he planted before passing out have grown to an enormous size, far beyond anything he thought possible. His mind races. Did they really grow this big in just 2 days? Something strange is happening here, and Seijun is beginning to realize this place doesn't follow the normal rules of the world. Seijun stares at the massive green onion, his mind racing. No, maybe it's because I'm in the tower. He recalls watching a documentary that mentioned how the shape of plants can change depending on their environment. If the tower operates under different rules than the outside world, then it's possible some unknown power has accelerated the growth of the green onion. A thought crosses his mind. Maybe the others grew too? Turning around, his eyes widen in excitement. They did. More enormous green onions stand tall in the soil, stretching toward the cavern's ceiling. He counts them quickly. 1, 2, 3. There are so many. However, he quickly notices a problem. Some of them are clustered too close together, their leaves casting shadows over one another. They won't get enough sunlight to grow properly. Determined, Seijun grabs a sturdy green stalk and prepares to harvest. But so thick, it's harder than I expected. With effort, he finally cuts through, gathering a bundle of tower-grown green onions in his arms. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, he grins. Phew, I'm done harvesting. As he lifts one to his mouth, curiosity sparks. I wonder, what would this taste like? Without hesitation, he takes a bite. The moment Seijun takes a bite, his entire world erupts into flames. His mouth burns with an unbearable heat, his face turning red as fire seems to explode from within. What the hell? Why is this so freaking spicy? His eyes water, and without thinking, he scrambles toward the water, dunking his head in to cool the overwhelming heat. This wasn't a normal green onion. This was a monster in vegetable form. After a few moments, he finally lifts his head, gasping for air. Wow, that was way spicier than I expected. Strangely, despite the intense heat, his stomach feels fine. It doesn't hurt at all. As he catches his breath, he comes to a realization. If the food here is going to be this extreme, he'll just have to get used to it. Shrugging off the experience, he decides to dry the rest of the green onions for later. To clear his palate, he grabs a handful of cherry tomatoes, popping one into his mouth. Meanwhile, in the distance, his small green onion field stands proudly, marking the beginning of his survival in this strange new world. Seijun leans back, popping a cherry tomato into his mouth as he takes a moment to process everything that's happened. He had always heard that the sun never sets in the tower. The light remains constant, illuminating each floor. But there are rare moments when the moon eclipses the sun, casting a mysterious phenomenon known as the blue moon. This event only occurs on the 20th floor. Yet, Seijun saw it here. His mind races. I thought I was on the first floor. But that dragon, that wasn't an illusion. Something doesn't add up. If the blue moon and that massive dragon appeared in this place, then where exactly is he? Meanwhile, in a flashback to 10 years ago, when the tower first appeared, the world was shaken as challengers began their ascent. Among them, a legendary guild, Phoenix Guild, made history by achieving the impossible, clearing the 37th floor. Seijun's thoughts linger on one question. What kind of place has he really been thrown into? The higher floors of the tower are shrouded in secrecy, with guilds guarding valuable information. Details about the 37th floor and beyond are top secret, known only to the strongest challengers. But everything below that? Easily accessible. Seijun remembers watching tower floor reviews on YouTube, where climbers documented their experiences. According to them, floors 2 to 10 are filled with skeleton soldiers. Floors 11 to 20 introduce orcs and other brutish monsters. The 21st floor and beyond house even more dangerous creatures like giant spiders. Yet, in all those videos and reports, there was never a single mention of dragons, not even rumors about lizard-like monsters or anything remotely close. Lying on a rock, Seijun stares up at the sky, his mind reeling. Which floor is this? The realization slowly sinks in. Maybe he's not on any of the known floors. Maybe he's somewhere completely undocumented. A chilling thought crosses his mind. Did I get lost on a floor that even the top-ranked hunters haven't discovered yet? If that's the case, he's truly on his own. Sejun stretches, still lost in thought about his strange situation. But then, a sudden drop of water hits his face. Startled, he looks up. Huh? Is it raining? That would be strange. From what he knew, the tower always had stable weather. He cautiously reaches out his hand, feeling for more droplets. But as he focuses on the sky, something else catches his attention. A small white figure darts through the grass. His body tenses. What was that? A monster? He scrambles onto a nearby rock, scanning his surroundings with wide eyes. Then, it emerges. A fluffy white rabbit stands in the open field, its ears twitching as it curiously observes him. Sejun's mind blanks. Rabbit? Before he can process it, the rabbit suddenly jumps in surprise. Sejun flinches. Something is definitely off about this creature. The rabbit suddenly bolts, its small body moving with surprising speed. Sejun panics. Be careful. He instinctively follows after it, unsure why he's even chasing a rabbit in the first place. But something feels strange about this creature. It doesn't move like a normal animal. It's too fast, too precise. As he watches it hop toward his crops, a realization dawns on him. Wait, what the? The rabbit stops right in front of his green onions, eyes locked onto them. Sejun narrows his gaze. I don't think this is just an ordinary rabbit. Then, without a sound, the rabbit lifts its tiny paw and points directly at a green onion. Sejun stares, dumbfounded. Huh. You want to eat that? The rabbit simply nibbles on the onion, unfazed by his presence. Sejun watches in disbelief. Did he just find his first tower companion? Or a vegetable thief? Sejun hesitates for a moment, then reaches down, plucking a green onion from the ground. He hands it to the rabbit. Here you go. The rabbit's ears perk up as it eagerly takes the onion, letting out a small, satisfied pie before taking a big bite. Sejun watches in amusement as the fluffy creature happily munches away. Do you like it? If you want more, I have plenty. The rabbit responds with another excited pie, making Sejun chuckle. His gaze shifts to his crops, and his eyes widen in surprise. Wait, did they grow this much already? The onions are taller than before, standing strong and healthy. Sejun sighs. Looks like I'll have to harvest them twice a day. Just as he takes another bite of his own onion, the rabbit suddenly starts frantically hopping in place. Pee! 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 Sejun blinks. Huh? Before he can react, the rabbit dashes away, disappearing toward the edge of the cavern. Something just changed. The rabbit rushes off, leaving Sejun momentarily confused. But before he can question it, the rabbit returns, this time with company. A second rabbit appears, carrying a watering can, while the first one wears a small straw hat. Sejun stares in disbelief. Another rabbit? The two fluffy creatures stand side by side, looking up at him with their big, round eyes. They let out cheerful pie sounds, as if introducing themselves. Sejun tilts his head, observing them. Are you perhaps farmers? The rabbits nod excitedly, the one in the hat even blushing a little. Sejun exhales, unable to believe what's happening. My diary of getting lost in a tower now includes a couple of rabbits joining me in this cave. His strange but unexpectedly wholesome adventure is only just beginning. Sejun observes the two rabbits standing together, looking like a perfect pair. He scratches his head, trying to process the situation. How did this even happen? As he contemplates, he wonders if these rabbits plan to live with him in the cave. The rabbits, as if understanding his thoughts, turn to face him. They tilt their heads slightly, their large, sparkling eyes locked onto him with an almost hypnotic charm. Sejun's body tenses. Their adorable, pleading expressions are hitting him way too hard. His heartbeat quickens, and he instinctively takes a step back. But the rabbits continue to stare, eyes full of anticipation. Sejun sighs in defeat, feeling like he just lost an argument without even saying a word. Ugh. Oh, okay. It's official. These rabbits aren't going anywhere. Sejun crosses his arms, looking at the rabbits. If they plan to stay, they can't just freeload off his farm. He lays out a condition. If they want to keep eating his crops, They'll have to help with the farming. The rabbits don't hesitate. One of them suddenly leaps into Sejun's arms, nuzzling against him. Sejun panics. "Hey!" The soft fur brushes against his face, and he instantly melts. They continue snuggling up to him, their fur unbelievably soft as they affectionately press against his arms. His resolve crumbles. Don't be so cute." He grits his teeth, struggling to keep his thoughts rational. "If you keep acting this adorable, I might actually take you in." After calming himself down, Sejun sits cross-legged, reflecting on what just happened. It feels like he's being manipulated, but at this point, he doesn't even care anymore. Shaking off his thoughts, he turns his attention to something else. His eyes land on the objects the rabbits brought with them. He raises an eyebrow. "By the way, those things you're carrying, those are items, right?" Sejun observes the rabbits at work and notices something unusual. The husband rabbit's watering can isn't just ordinary. It's spraying an endless stream of water, as if it's magically producing it. Meanwhile, the wife rabbit seems to have an endless inventory of farming tools, pulling out everything they need as if by magic. A shovel, a hoe, a rake. She just keeps bringing out more. Sejun watches in awe and jealousy. "I wish I had equipment like that." The rabbits, oblivious to his thoughts, continue their work efficiently. Soon, the wife rabbit happily signals that they're done. Sejun gets up and walks over to inspect their work. He glances at the freshly cut green onions lying neatly on the ground, but something catches his attention. "Wait, where are the scraps? And the potatoes I planted?" His stomach sinks as he realizes something might be missing. Sejun examines his cherry tomato plants, noticing they are growing at an unbelievable rate. He wonders if this is due to the rabbits' efforts. He then looks at the rabbits, who seem to be staring at him with serious expressions. One of the rabbits raises its paw, pointing toward him. Sejun, confused, asks what they mean. The rabbits suddenly clap their paws together. Sejun watches their nervousness, slowly realizing what's going on. Then, a golden "You passed" notification appears above him, sparkling. The rabbits cheer loudly, thrilled that he has passed some sort of test. Sejun is still trying to process everything, but the rabbits continue celebrating, completely overjoyed. Out of nowhere, the rabbits sprint away at full speed, their ears bouncing as they move. Sejun, caught off guard, turns his head in confusion. He wonders, what just happened? The rabbits don't stop. Instead, they quickly huddle together and start digging into the ground, their small paws kicking up dirt at an incredible speed. Sejun watches as they dig with intense focus, their movements synchronized, as if they've done this many times before. After some time, the rabbit wearing a hat lifts up a beautifully crafted flower crown, its delicate petals woven together with care. The rabbit smiles proudly, holding it up like a masterpiece, its eyes twinkling with satisfaction. Then, with a soft, careful motion, the rabbit gently places the completed flower crown onto a wooden surface, presenting it as if it were a precious treasure. The rabbits excitedly present their creation with a dramatic "ta-da!" Sejun watches as the rabbit with the hat holds up the flower crown proudly, showcasing it in front of what appears to be a small round door built into a grassy hill. The other rabbits chuckle and cheer, clearly proud of their accomplishment. Sejun, still amazed, steps back to take in the sight of the beautifully crafted rabbit home. With admiration in his voice, he compliments the husband rabbit on its impressive skills. The rabbit with the hat, hearing the praise, smirks confidently, adjusting its hat with a proud glint in its eye. It then gives a playful wink and a thumbs up, showing off a bit before motioning toward their newly decorated home. Sejun can't help but be amused by the rabbit's confident attitude. As if to add a finishing touch, the wife rabbit points proudly at the house. They're gonna do the business on their complete cozy little home. The husband rabbit suddenly stops, its eyes glistening with emotion. Without warning, the wife dashes toward its partner, grabbing the husband rabbit to their home. The couple rabbit blushes deeply, hearts practically floating around them as they cuddle happily. Sejun watches the scene unfold, his eyes trailing back to the cozy rabbit home, now complete with the flower wreath. With a sigh, he rests his chin on his hand, watching the affectionate display. Husband Rabbit is taking all the best moments, he thinks to himself, feeling a pang of envy. Alone in the cave for so long, Sejun realizes how lonely it had been before these rabbits arrived. He stretches, a small smile forming as he acknowledges that their presence has made things far more entertaining. Lying back on the grass, he relaxes, finally feeling at ease with his new fluffy companions. Sejun lays on his back, stretching out on the green onions, enjoying a moment of rest. Suddenly he jolts up, his body tensing. "So hot!" he yells, feeling an intense heat searing into his back. He quickly rolls away, clutching his burning skin, trying to process what just happened. Looking around, he spots something unusual, a plastic bottle lying in the sunlight, glowing faintly. Curious, he steps closer, eyes narrowing as he watches steam rising from the bottle. "Huh? Why is a plastic bottle?" he mutters, confused. As he gets closer, a strange golden light begins to radiate from it. His eyes widen in shock. Something about this isn't normal. Sejun sits up, still feeling the lingering heat on his back. The environment in the Black Tower was harsh, but he refused to lose hope. Looking at his supplies, he reassures himself. At least he still has dried green onions and a plastic bottle of water. A thought crosses his mind. Wait, I can use this transparent bottle like a convex lens to start a fire? He remembers how magnifying glasses could focus sunlight to ignite a flame. Determined, he holds up the plastic bottle, angling it carefully in the sunlight, trying to focus the rays onto the dried green onions. Seconds pass. Nothing happens. Frustrated, he tosses the bottle aside. "Doesn't work," he shouts in disappointment. Sejun is kneeling on the ground, looking frustrated. He clutches his head, deep in thought. If only I had a proper tool to start a fire. He gazes at the dried green onions he gathered, then at the plastic bottle he had earlier. Why isn't this working? I know this should create fire, but what am I doing wrong? His eyes scan his surroundings, trying to figure out the issue. Suddenly, a faint wisp of smoke appears from the dried green onions. Sejun's eyes widen in surprise. Huh? Smoke? Meanwhile, at the burrow, the husband and wife rabbits peek outside. The wife rabbit tilts her head, watching Sejun struggle with curiosity. The husband rabbit narrows his eyes, noticing the smoke rising from the dried green onions. Sejun is lying on the ground, his face full of desperation as he watches the dried green onions. His body is tense, and sweat drips from his forehead. Please, please. The dried leaves emit a tiny wisp of smoke, but it's not enough to start a fire. Suddenly, the rabbit couple hops toward him, responding to his distress. PPI! PPI! Sejun's eyes light up with hope as he looks at them. Rabbit couple. With a sudden idea, he turns to them with determination. Rabbits, can you blow some wind on the leaves? The rabbits tilt their heads for a moment before nodding. Sejun clenches his fists, staring at the faint smoke. His face contorts with emotion as he yells one more time. Please. Please. The tension is high as he prays for the fire to ignite. Sejun raises the transparent plastic bottle high above his head, angling it toward the dried leaves as the sunlight pierces through. Please start a fire, he shouts, his voice filled with desperation. The rabbits watch closely, their eyes following Sejun's every move. Suddenly, a spark ignites. The dried green onion leaves burst into flames, crackling as the fire takes hold. It worked! Sejun exclaims, his face lighting up with triumph. The rabbits stare at the fire, their tiny paws twitching in excitement. It's really on fire, Sejun gasps, unable to believe his eyes. With newfound energy, he reaches for a wooden stick and quickly places it over the flames. Then, the fire blazes stronger, dancing wildly as it begins to consume the kindling. Success! Sejun has finally managed to start a fire. Sejun lets out a triumphant laugh as he watches the fire burn steadily. Ha, ha, ha! He sighs in relief, sitting cross-legged by the fire, basking in its warmth. The rabbits sit beside him, their tiny bodies illuminated by the flickering flames. Sejun grabs a green onion and holds it over the fire, roasting it carefully. I guess this should be enough, he mumbles, eyeing the slightly charred vegetable. Suddenly, he jerks his hand back. "Oh, hot! Hot!" he exclaims, quickly peeling off the burnt outer layer. Once the outer skin is removed, the inside reveals a golden, caramelized texture. With determination, Seijun brings it to his mouth and takes a bite. And the rabbits stare at him, their ears twitching curiously as they watch Seijun's reaction. As Seijun bites into the roasted green onion, his eyes widen in shock. "Sweet!" he exclaims, his mouth flooded with an intense, sugary flavor. A wave of euphoria crashes through his senses, his mind overwhelmed by the unexpected taste. A sugar-like sweetness is rushing crazily in my head. Suddenly, his vision distorts. In his imagination, a majestic wild green horse appears, galloping freely across a vast open field, its mane flowing like a gentle breeze. My mouth feels like a wild green horse running in a wide field. Seijun sits frozen, staring at the half-eaten green onion in disbelief. "So delicious," he mutters, his voice filled with both awe and confusion. The rabbits tilt their heads, curiously observing Seijun's reaction. Seeing his dazed expression, the wife rabbit casually picks up another green onion. Without hesitation, she tosses it into the fire, ready to roast another one. As the rabbits took a bite of the grilled green onion, their eyes sparkled with pure delight. The rich, caramelized sweetness exploded in their mouths, making them cry out in joy, "Pia!" Their tiny paws clutched the food tightly, savoring the unexpected burst of flavor. Seijun watched them with a satisfied smile. Seeing their happiness made him feel warm inside. With a laugh, he encouraged them, "Eat more! Help yourselves!" The scene was peaceful under the never-setting sun of the mysterious tower. As the day came to an end, Seijun finally leaned back, feeling full for the first time in a while. My diary of getting lost. He gazed up at the hole in the cave ceiling, where light shone down from the world above. Despite the uncertainty of his situation, for now, he had warm food and good company. I was finally able to fill my stomach with warm food and went to sleep. Seijun stood proudly among his flourishing crops, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. "Green onion harvesting, complete," he muttered, holding up the freshly picked stalks. His gaze shifted to the cherry tomato plants, their vibrant green leaves thriving under the constant light. "And watering the cherry tomatoes, done," he noted, ensuring every plant received the care it needed. Next, he turned to the sweet potato patch. Their sturdy vines sprawled across the ground, showing signs of healthy growth. "Watering the sweet potatoes, also complete," he said, wiping a bit of sweat from his brow. A gentle breeze swept through the cave, rustling the leaves. He took a deep breath and stretched his arms. "It feels good," he exclaimed, genuinely enjoying the work. As he admired his progress, he reflected on the past days. A lot of things happened recently, he thought, recalling the changes in his situation. After discovering how to start a fire, his daily routine had shifted. He focused on farming, carefully harvesting green onions while the rabbits diligently placed markers around the cave, helping to organize their growing food supply. This wasn't just survival anymore. It was starting to feel like home. As Seijun moved around the cave, he noticed how dark it was near the pond. With only the faint light from above filtering in, he thought a torch would be useful. "It's really dark near the pond. Maybe a torch will help," he muttered to himself. Lighting a torch, the flickering flames cast warm light around the area. He felt a small sense of relief, thinking that things were getting a bit easier, until something unexpected happened. A sudden splash echoed through the cave. Ripples spread across the surface of the pond as a large, aggressive-looking fish shot out of the water. Its sharp teeth glinted under the torchlight, and its glowing blue eyes locked onto Seijun. Startled, he stumbled back. "Huh? What the—" The fish lunged at him with a fierce expression, as if trying to attack. But instead of landing a hit, it flopped onto the ground, writhing and thrashing violently. Seijun took a cautious step forward, watching it struggle. "Wait, I never saw any fish in this pond before. Where did it even come from?" He scratched his head in confusion. Then, a realization hit him. Was the fish attracted to the light? With no time to waste, he grabbed a sturdy stick and carefully nudged the fish closer to the fire. The moment its body touched the flames, it sizzled loudly, releasing an appetizing aroma into the air. Seijun watched as the fish cooked, feeling both relieved and excited. For the first time since being trapped in the cave, he had fresh meat. He glanced down at the torch still in his hand. So, light attracts them, huh? A smirk formed on his face. I think I just found a way to secure food in this place. After successfully catching a fish attracted to the torchlight, Seijun prepares it over an open flame. The delicious aroma fills the air as he eagerly takes a bite, savoring the rich, grilled flavor. So tasty, he exclaims, enjoying his first proper meal in the tower. Curiously, the rabbits watch him eat, their eyes shining with interest. When Seijun offers them a piece, they eagerly accept, revealing that they also eat meat. Shocked, he realizes, I guess it doesn't matter what you look like. You're also a monster. As he finishes his meal, the eerie blue moon appears once again, signaling another cycle of the mysterious phenomenon that occurs every 25 days. This time, Seijun is ready. Using his laptop and phone, he keeps track of the days and charges his devices, determined to understand more about his strange new reality. As Seijun continues to adapt to life in the mysterious tower, he realizes that even his electronic devices have their limits. His phone finally runs out of battery, leaving him unable to track time digitally. Determined not to lose count of the days, he begins carving tally marks into the cave wall, marking each passing day. So it's been 61 days, he mutters, staring at the markings. Luckily, he has a natural way to keep track of time. His rabbit companions follow a strict routine, going to bed at 7 p.m. and waking up at 5 a.m. without fail. By syncing his schedule with theirs, he ensures he won't lose his sense of time, even under the eternal daylight of the tower. But among his daily routine, something unexpected happens. One morning, the wife rabbit steps outside their burrow and greets Seijun warmly, saying, "Oh, husband rabbit, good morning." Seijun blinks in confusion as the rabbit looks at him expectantly. Something great had indeed happened, but what could it be? Seijun was greeted with an unexpected sight. Tiny, energetic baby rabbits bursting out of the burrow, their soft fur bouncing as they rushed toward him. Phew! Seijun blinked in surprise, his heart swelling with joy as the realization hit him. The rabbit couple had become parents, and now he was officially an uncle to a whole bunch of tiny fluffballs. Before he could react, the baby rabbits swarmed him, piling onto his lap, his arms, and even his face. "Oh, my babies, did you miss your uncle?" He laughed as the little ones nuzzled against him, their tiny paws patting him affectionately. Seijun gently cradled them, feeling a deep sense of warmth and responsibility. "I'm happy these days being an uncle," he thought to himself, a smile never leaving his face. Looking over at the exhausted rabbit couple, he noticed the dark circles under their eyes. Parenting had clearly taken a toll on them. "Looks like you couldn't sleep well, huh?" Seijun said softly. "Don't worry, I'll take care of the kids, so take a break while eating breakfast." The husband and wife rabbits, too tired to argue, gave grateful P.I. sounds before settling down for a well-earned rest. Meanwhile, the energetic baby rabbits continued to climb all over Seijun, their tiny tails wagging happily as they played with their new favorite uncle. Seijun gathered the energetic baby rabbits in his arms, their tiny bodies wiggling with excitement. "Babies, let's take a look at the flowers on the cherry tomatoes," he said with a cheerful grin. With the little ones bouncing around him, Seijun led them to the lush greenery where his cherry tomato plants stood proudly, now covered in bright yellow blossoms. "Ha ha ha ha," he chuckled, watching as the baby rabbits hopped excitedly through the plants, their small paws brushing against the delicate flowers. "The flowers have started to bloom," he observed, his eyes shining with pride. "Now, it really looks like a flower garden." But Seijun knew that flowers alone wouldn't be enough. For the plants to bear fruit, pollination was necessary. "So," he continued, rolling up his sleeves, "we'll have to do hand pollination like this, one by one." Carefully, Seijun reached out and gently tapped the center of a flower, shaking the pollen loose to help fertilize the plant. It was tedious work, but necessary if he wanted to see his tomatoes grow. Hours passed as he repeated the process, moving from flower to flower, ensuring that each one had been pollinated properly. "Ugh, my back," he groaned, straightening up and stretching his sore muscles. "Doing this all day is killing me." He glanced at the rabbits, who were happily hopping around, seemingly without a care in the world. Sejun sighed and muttered, "It would be great if some bees showed up to do this for me. But I guess a bee big enough to exist in this tower would probably be terrifying, right?" Despite his exhaustion, Sejun smiled. His little farm was flourishing, and that was all that mattered. As Sejun continued his careful pollination, one of the baby rabbits curiously hopped up beside him, wiggling its tiny nose at the flowers. The little bunny took a deep sniff, only to suddenly let out a loud sneeze, scattering pollen everywhere. Startled by the bunny's unexpected reaction, he quickly wiped his nose and laughed. "You shouldn't breathe in the pollen, silly!" He gently patted the baby rabbit's head, amused by the tiny troublemaker. But just as he was about to continue, something caught his eye. Among the sea of yellow blossoms, a small, round shape was peeking out. His breath hitched. A fruit? Already? He leaned in closer, eyes widening in disbelief. Sure enough, nestled among the leaves was a tiny green tomato, the first sign of his farming efforts bearing real results. After countless hours of tending to the plants, battling exhaustion, and working through trial and error, they had finally done it. "Wahaha! We did it!" Sejun cheered, scooping up the baby rabbit in excitement. The other rabbits gathered around, their ears twitching as they curiously inspected the new fruit. It was a moment of triumph, and Sejun felt his heart swell with pride. And yet, in the back of his mind, he realized something important. This was the day before the blue moon. The cave was bathed in the ever-present sunlight filtering through the hole above. But Sejun's mind was fixated on the approaching night. The blue moon was coming. Determined to prepare for whatever lay ahead, he spent the day gathering dried grass and leaves, weaving them together into a makeshift camouflage cloak. As he draped the leafy covering over himself, it provided not just warmth, but also a sense of security. If something dangerous appeared, he needed to blend into his surroundings as much as possible. Sejun stomped his feet lightly, testing his mobility in the disguise. The dried leaves rustled, but it wasn't too restricting. "Good. All set. I think this is enough for camouflage and warmth," he said with satisfaction. The rabbits watched him curiously, their little noses twitching. One of them let out a small "pie," as if in approval. With everything in place, Sejun took a deep breath. The moment he had been dreading was almost here. "It's almost time," he muttered, gripping his backpack straps tightly. He turned to the rabbits, flashing them a confident smile. "See you. After we survive." The rabbits PPI'd in response, their tiny voices filled with trust. Standing tall, Sejun raised his fist with determination. "Blue moon is a piece of cake," he declared boldly. But deep down, he knew. Tonight would be the real test. The eerie howls of unknown creatures echoed through the night, sending shivers down Sejun's spine. The entire forest outside the cave was alive with nightmarish screams, the kind that made his instincts scream at him to stay hidden. Dressed in his makeshift camouflage of dried leaves, he crouched near the cave wall, trying to make himself as small as possible. His heart pounded with every chilling wail that pierced the air. "It's so tiring. When is it going to end?" he murmured to himself, his grip tightening around his knees. He had taken every precaution, hiding anything that had a scent, sealing the cave entrance as much as possible, and preparing himself mentally for the long night ahead. But no amount of preparation could erase the fear creeping into his bones. "I don't even know how many hours have passed," he thought, exhaustion weighing on him. "Every minute feels like an hour." The distant cries of monsters filled the air, their agonized wails making his body tremble involuntarily. He clenched his jaw, trying to steady his nerves. "I hope this just ends again, without anything bad happening." Just as he tried to reassure himself. Thud! A loud impact shook the cave entrance. Sejun's breath hitched. His body froze. Something was here. Sejun's breath caught in his throat. Thud! Another heavy impact sent tremors through the cave floor. His pulse quickened as he instinctively pressed himself against the rock wall, his mind racing. "What was that sound?" he whispered under his breath, his eyes wide with fear. Slowly, he peeked outside the cave entrance, and what he saw made his stomach drop. A massive crimson beast stomped through the forest, its hulking form casting an ominous shadow under the eerie blue light. The ground cracked beneath its sheer weight as it moved, its claws digging into the earth with each thunderous step. Sejun swallowed hard. A bear! No, that's too big. What the hell is that? The creature let out a deep, guttural growl, the vibrations reverberating through the air like a death sentence. It wasn't just any monster, it was a predator, one that could easily tear apart anything in its path. Sejun's body tensed. The blue moon had awakened something truly terrifying. Sejun's heart pounded like a war drum in his chest. The colossal bear loomed under the eerie glow of the blue moon, its massive frame casting a suffocating shadow over the land. The beast's crimson fur bristled as it stood at the edge of the crater, its piercing eyes scanning the cave below. Thump, thump. Sejun barely breathed as the bear's heavy footsteps echoed through the night. Then, it stopped. The monstrous creature gazed directly into the cave. Sejun's stomach twisted into knots. He could feel his blood turn to ice as the bear's deep, guttural growl rumbled through the air. Damn it! A cold sweat dripped down his forehead. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but his body refused to move. Trapped, defenseless, hunted. The blue moon's nightmare had just begun. Sejun's breath hitched as the giant bear sniffed the air, its deadly claws scraping against the rocky terrain. He hasn't noticed me yet. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead as he took a careful step back. He needed to hide. Fast. I should move to a better place before he sees me. Lowering himself to the ground, Sejun moved quietly, slowly, his body tense with fear. His heart pounded so loudly, he swore the bear could hear it. But just as he reached for his bag, clang! Clatter! The bottle and cherry tomatoes tumbled out, rolling across the cave floor, the sound echoing through the cavern. Sejun's eyes widened in horror. Sejun's entire body froze as the bottle and cherry tomatoes tumbled across the rocky ground, the sound slicing through the tense silence like a dagger. No! 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 His heart pounded wildly, his breath caught in his throat. The giant bear's ears perked up. Slowly, its massive head turned, dark eyes locking onto him. Sejun could feel the weight of its gaze, piercing, hungry. A deep, guttural growl rumbled from its throat, shaking the very air around them. Then, boom! The bear lunged forward. A chill ran down Sejun's spine as the monstrous bear charged straight at him, its massive claws tearing through the ground. Yah! His scream echoed through the cave, sheer terror gripping him. The bear's jaws parted wide, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth, saliva dripping as it let out a deafening roar. This was it, life or death, and Sejun had nowhere to run. Sejun groaned as he slowly sat up, his body aching all over. So, I passed out? He mumbled, rubbing his sore limbs. The rabbits huddled around him, looking concerned. The memories of the night before were hazy, but he could still feel the lingering fear in his chest. Ugh, my body hurts. Body. He clenched his fists. What exactly happened back there? As his mind cleared, he froze. The monster. Its enormous form towered in the distance, its piercing eyes glowing with raw ferocity. Kuo! A thunderous roar shook the air, sending chills down Sejun's spine. He wasn't safe yet. Sejun sat in stunned silence, his body still trembling from the terrifying memories of last night. That monster. His mind replayed the horrifying moment, the enormous red bear towering over him, its piercing eyes locked onto his frail form. Its deafening roar shook the very air around him, and in that moment, he had thought he was going to die. The sheer pressure of the beast's presence had frozen him in place, his body refusing to move as his instincts screamed at him to run. But somehow, he had survived. I almost got killed by a monster, he muttered, his voice unsteady as he hugged his knees to his chest. The baby rabbits nestled against him, their tiny bodies warm and comforting. Their soft fur brushed against his skin, grounding him in the present. The cave was peaceful now, filled with nothing but the quiet chirping of the rabbits. It's over, right? Even as he told himself that, a shiver ran down his spine. The fear still clung to him, a lingering shadow that refused to fade. Pete! Pete! The husband rabbit suddenly called out, tapping a rock with his paw. Seijun blinked, snapping out of his daze. Yeah, he exhaled, forcing himself to shake off the lingering fear. It's cold, huh? He reached for some firewood, determined to keep himself busy. Anything to keep his mind from wandering back to that dreadful night. The warmth of the crackling fire flickered in the dim cave, casting soft shadows on the walls. Seijun sat close, bundled in his leaf-covered cloak, trying to chase away the lingering chill that had settled deep into his bones. The baby rabbits huddled near him, their tiny bodies pressed against his legs, seeking warmth from both the fire and him. The comforting presence of the little creatures helped him relax, if only a little. Pie. The wife rabbit gently nudged his hand, offering a freshly roasted fish. Seijun blinked before accepting it with a small, grateful smile. Thank you, he murmured, taking a bite. The crispy skin gave way to the tender, smoky flesh inside, filling his mouth with warmth and flavor. He exhaled, savoring the meal, the simple act of eating reminding him that he was still alive. But as he chewed, his mind drifted back to last night. The monster. It noticed this place. His grip on the fish tightened slightly. He wasn't sure if the beast had left because it sensed another monster, or if it had simply lost interest due to the small size of the cave's entrance. Either way, there's no guarantee that the same thing won't happen again. The thought sent a shiver down his spine. He needed to prepare, before it was too late. Seijun let out a deep sigh, staring at the fire as he chewed his meal. The smoky, grilled fish filled his stomach with much-needed warmth, but it couldn't shake off the cold realization that settled in his mind. I got lucky this time, but I can really end up dead. The memory of the monster flashed through his head, its massive figure looming in the dark. He clenched his fist, frustration bubbling inside him. Damn it. I've worked so hard to survive this far. He wasn't about to let all his effort go to waste. If he wanted to make it out of this tower alive, he needed strength. And to gain strength, there was only one thing he could do for now. Eat well to survive. Determined, he took a big bite of the fish, tearing into it with renewed resolve. The rabbits watched him curiously, their ears twitching as they nibbled on their own food. Pee, pee. Seijun blinked, looking up at the husband rabbit, who was trying to get his attention. Huh? What was it now? Was it? Seijun stared in amazement at the vibrant fruit hanging from the vine. The cherry tomato? It had grown significantly, already the size of a golf ball, but something about it was unusual. Why is this blue? Cherry tomatoes were supposed to turn red when ripe, yet this one gleamed in a deep, striking shade of blue. He reached out and carefully plucked the fruit, rolling it in his palm. Is it ripe? As soon as he held it, a familiar notification sound echoed in his ears. You have successfully completed the quest to harvest while embracing the energy of the blue moon. Seijun's eyes widened. He hadn't expected his farming efforts to trigger a system notification, especially not one tied to the mysterious blue moon. Just what kind of tomato was this? Seijun's eyes widened as a glowing blue message window suddenly appeared before him. Isn't this a message window? He had seen these before, but this one was different. It wasn't a simple system notification. Your amazing achievement has attracted the attention of the tower manager. Seijun blinked, staring at the blue tomato in his hand. The tower manager? Another message popped up. The tower manager is keeping an eye on you. The tower manager isn't happy. Seijun frowned. Wait, why wouldn't he be happy? His confusion only grew as another window appeared. The tower manager has discovered you aren't a duly invited guest. Seijun felt a chill run down his spine. Not invited? Then, the final message made his stomach drop. The tower manager wants to hide its blunder. Seijun's expression twisted in shock. Blunder? What do you mean by that? It was a mistake that I ended up here. As another message window appeared, Seijun could feel an ominous dread creeping over him. The tower manager wants to move to the blue rank. Whatever that meant, it didn't sound good. Seijun clenched the glowing blue tomato in frustration, his voice rising in disbelief. I have been living here for 61 days, and now you're telling me it was a mistake? If it really was a mistake, then there was only one logical solution. Then let me go. I want to go home. But before he could even process his own words, another message window popped up, sending a chill down his spine. The tower manager is thinking if it should kill you to eradicate the evidence. Sejun's breath hitched. His hands trembled as he stared at the ominous text. What? I even unlocked an achievement. Instead of rewarding me, you're planning to eradicate me? That's too much. As if hesitating, the message window flickered. The dots blinking on the screen sent Sejun into a nervous sweat. Was that too rude? Then, another message appeared. The tower manager is awakening you. Sejun gulped. What the hell does that mean? A sudden surge of energy crackled around Sejun, his body engulfed in a dazzling blue light. What the? The message window pulsed before him, glowing with an unfamiliar intensity. Awakening has begun. Awakening? Sejun muttered, eyes widening. He recalled the previous message. The tower manager was awakening him. Did this mean he was officially recognized as an awakened being of the tower? Then, does this mean I'm an official awakener of the tower? His heart pounded as another thought struck him. Wait, if I'm an awakener, does that mean I get some crazy skill? Or maybe some kind of divine strength? Shouldn't I be OP? His excitement was short-lived as another window appeared. The tower manager is assigning you a job. Sejun held his breath. A job? What is it? What's my role in this tower? His anticipation peaked as the final message revealed itself with celebratory fireworks. Congratulations, you've become a tower farmer. F. Sejun's face froze. Huh? Sejun stood frozen, staring blankly at the glowing message window in front of him. Huh? His heart, which had been racing in excitement, suddenly sank as a series of new notifications popped up. Due to your job, you won't get sick. Due to your job, you will be closer to nature. Due to your job, you will gain experience points when harvesting crops. Sejun's eye twitched. No, wait! Farmer! What do you mean, farmer? Where's my warrior class? My godly powers? Frantically, he clenched his fists and shouted, Status window, open! A new blue panel shimmered into existence. Park Sejun, level 1. Talent, ordinary. Stats, strength, 1. Stamina, 1. Agility, 1. Magic, 0. Job, tower farmer, F. Sejun's face went pale. Status window. Is this really my status window? He gulped, realizing just how unremarkable everything was. Sejun's mind went blank. Ordinary talent? Tower farmer? His thoughts spiraled as reality sank in. He had hoped for something grand, something heroic. But instead, suddenly the world around him shifted. With a dramatic pomp and fanfare, Sejun found himself seated in a luxurious late-night talk show. The bright studio lights shone down on him as an elegantly dressed host smiled and gestured towards him. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our special guest tonight, Park Sejun. The audience clapped enthusiastically as Sejun, now sharply dressed in a red suit, adjusted his tie. The host leaned forward with a grin. Mr. Sejun, why don't you tell us about your job? Sejun gave a charming smile, his eyes twinkling. Pfft. I'm the tower farmer. Roses bloomed in the background as he struck a dazzling pose. Then, No! Sejun snapped back to reality, his scream echoing through the cave. He clutched his head in despair, standing amidst his thriving garden. A farmer! Why a farmer? In frustration, he threw the glowing blue tomato he had just harvested. But as it left his hand, a strange force stopped it mid-air, making it hover ominously. Sejun gulped. Huh? Sejun froze, feeling the weight of countless eyes on him. Every single rabbit, big and small, was staring at him in eerie silence. Their wide, unblinking gazes made him uneasy. Why are you all looking at me like that? He muttered, gripping the blue tomato tightly. The baby rabbits huddled closer to their parents, their ears twitching as if sensing something unusual. Even the husband rabbit, who was usually carefree, looked tense. Sejun swallowed hard and glanced at the blue tomato in his hand. It was the fruit they had worked so hard to grow, but now, something about it felt different. He let out a small, nervous chuckle. "Well, we worked really hard to grow this, right?" he said, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling. His eyes drifted toward the lush garden surrounding him. Rows of green onions, sweet potatoes, and cherry tomatoes thrived under the never-setting sun. The fire nearby crackled warmly, adding to the peaceful scene. Yet, despite the comforting sight, the silence of the rabbits and the strange energy surrounding the fruit made his skin crawl. Sejun exhaled slowly, staring at the blue tomato once more. Is this really just an ordinary fruit? Sejun took a deep breath, the heavy silence still lingering in the air. The rabbits remained still, their eyes locked onto him as if waiting for something. Feeling a bit awkward under their intense gazes, he forced a grin. "Well, guess I'm going to keep moving forward," he muttered, trying to shake off the unease. With renewed determination, he clenched the blue tomato in his hand and examined it more closely. The deep, glowing hue shimmered under the tower's eternal sunlight, its surface almost pulsating with an eerie energy. Then, just as his fingers brushed over the smooth skin, ding! A familiar notification window suddenly popped up in front of him. His eyes widened in shock. Huh? He quickly read through the text, his heartbeat accelerating. Magical cherry tomato. Infused with the energy of the blue moon. A cherry tomato that has absorbed the tower's lunar essence. Eating it will enhance the user's mana and heighten their senses for a short period. Grade: F+. Harvested by Farmer Park Sejun. Sejun's jaw dropped. What the? This tomato was an item? He stared at the glowing fruit in his palm, realization sinking in. It wasn't just a simple crop. This was something special, something powerful. The rabbits, who had been silently observing, finally reacted, their ears twitching in excitement. Sejun gulped. Just what kind of fruit did we grow? Sejun's eyes sparkled with excitement as he held the glowing blue tomato in his hands. It's minuscule, but it increases stats, he muttered, reading through the item description again. The idea of gaining even the smallest boost in his abilities was thrilling. He clenched his fist and grinned. My God, this is amazing. The rabbits around him tilted their heads curiously at his sudden enthusiasm. Pie. The little ones hopped excitedly, as if celebrating alongside him. Sejun took a deep breath and steadied himself. I have to carefully consider whether I should eat it or test it first. But before he could make a decision, somewhere, in the shadows, a pair of ominous eyes glowed in the darkness, locked onto him. A low, guttural growl rumbled through the cave, sending a shiver down his spine. Grrr! Sejun's body stiffened. Huh. The rabbits, sensing the disturbance, huddled close to him, their small bodies trembling. Pie. Pie. Then, suddenly, ding! A quest window appeared before him. A quest has been triggered. Objective: open the fruit containing the energy of the blue moon to the tower manager. Reward: plus related skill. Sejun blinked in shock. Another quest? He quickly scanned the description. I see. Offering the fruit might help me uncover the tower's secrets. But what happens if I refuse? His grip on the tomato tightened as he realized he had an important choice to make. Sejun's eyes widened in pure disbelief as he stared at the quest window before him. Reward: a job-related skill. Refusal: death. Death? A chill ran down his spine as the words sank in. His heartbeat pounded in his ears, his grip tightening around the glowing blue tomato. He let out a nervous chuckle, his expression twitching. This is a joke, right? His gaze flickered to the rabbits at his feet, their round eyes blinking up at him innocently, completely unaware of the life-or-death situation he had just found himself in. Sejun gulped. Right. But the silent, unchanging message window before him confirmed his worst fear. This was very, very real. With a deep sigh, Sejun extended the glowing blue tomato forward, his hands trembling slightly. Here you go, he muttered, bowing his head. Spare my life. As soon as the fruit left his fingers, a familiar chime echoed in the air. Ding! You have completed a quest. Sejun let out a breath he didn't even realize he was holding. Thank God! But then, another notification appeared in front of him. Quest reward, open. His eyes widened. Quest reward? Didn't it mention a skill-related reward? Curious, he hesitantly tapped the floating screen. Let's see. The message shifted, revealing the specifics of his prize. Quest reward, job-related skill. You have obtained Sowing, Lovibio 1. Sowing, Lovoint 1. Slightly increases the chance of germination when a seed is planted. Sejun blinked. Sowing? That's it. He had just risked his life handing over a mysterious fruit to a god-knows-what entity, and all he got was a minor farming boost? He groaned. Tower manager, you are pretty stingy, huh? Sejun exhaled deeply, rubbing his temples as he processed everything that had just happened. Right, my job was a tower farmer. The reality of his situation finally sank in. He had risked his life, faced monstrous dangers, and in the end, his title was just a farmer. But there was no time to dwell on it. He had to survive. Determined, Sejun grabbed a green onion, setting its tip ablaze to create a makeshift torch. The warm, flickering glow illuminated his surroundings, casting long shadows on the cave walls. Suddenly, the water nearby rippled violently. Splash! A large fish, drawn to the light, leaped out of the water, its sharp teeth glinting menacingly. Sejun's eyes widened. Again? Are you serious? Reacting on instinct, he raised the flaming green onion and swung with all his might. Thwack! The impact sent the fish crashing back into the water, steam rising from where the fire had seared its scales. Sejun stood frozen for a moment, panting heavily. I just fought a fish with a flaming onion. His life truly had taken a bizarre turn. Sejun stared at the twitching fish on the ground, its sharp teeth still bared as it slowly stopped moving. Piranha? A familiar notification popped up in front of him. You have killed a piranha. You have obtained 2 experience points. Sejun let out a sigh of relief. That makes it 11. At least I'm getting experience points from this. Ever since he awakened as a tower farmer, he discovered that defeating monsters actually granted him experience points. And for the past few days, he had been surviving by catching and eating these aggressive piranhas. After catching several piranhas for a few days, I somehow reached level 2. He held up 2 freshly caught piranhas, their bodies still slightly moving. He wanted to catch more, but something didn't sit right with him. It's not a good idea to kill a living thing without any reason. However, these fish were an excellent source of protein, and food was a necessity if he wanted to stay alive. Glancing at the pile of fish beside him, Sejun muttered, I shouldn't dry out their seed. He knew that if he overhunted, the population of piranhas could decrease, and his main food source would vanish. Even in this strange, dangerous tower, balance was key. Sejun raised the freshly cooked fish in both hands, his face beaming with excitement. Guys, let's eat! The moment he called out, the baby rabbits came rushing towards him, their tiny feet pattering against the ground as they eagerly gathered around the food. As he set the grilled fish down, he chuckled. Take your time. You've started eating a lot after growing a little. The baby rabbits nibbled away happily, their small mouths tearing into the tender fish. Sejun watched them with a satisfied smile, but quickly reminded them, make sure to leave some for your mom and dad. While sharing the meal, he reflected on how much he had learned about the rabbits in the past few days. He turned to the rabbit wearing a straw hat and gently handed over a portion. Here, it's yours. The rabbit's eyes sparkled with gratitude as it took the food, letting out cheerful chirps of, "Pee, pee." Sejun smiled. In this strange and unpredictable tower, moments like these made everything feel a little more like home. As Sejun observed the rabbits, a message window popped up, revealing their identity. Farmer White Rabbit. A type of monster I've never heard of outside the tower, Sejun murmured, intrigued. Based on their name, he concluded that their species must specialize in farming rather than combat. That must be why they aren't well known. They're not fighters but peaceful creatures. Watching the rabbit couple affectionately nuzzle each other, Sejun smiled but couldn't help but wonder. I don't know what happened to them, but it seems like they lost their farm and ended up wandering here. His thoughts drifted further. Do they have a hometown they can return to? He sighed, feeling a bit helpless. I wish we could understand each other better. But he shook his head with a chuckle. I can't believe I'm worrying about what a rabbit thinks. Pushing those thoughts aside, Sejun stretched and clapped his hands together. Anyway, shall we finish the day with an early night's rest? At his words, the rabbit with the straw hat suddenly stood up with determination. Pee! It chirped confidently, as if declaring something important. Sejun had no idea what was coming next. Sejun and the rabbit stood in awe, staring at the vibrant red cherry tomatoes hanging in clusters from the plants. Wah! Sejun murmured, unable to believe his eyes. The rabbits, equally amazed, gazed at the ripe fruit with wide, sparkling eyes. Finally, after all their hard work, they had something to harvest. Sejun clenched his fist in triumph. Finally! The time to taste the fruits of our labor has arrived. He turned to the rabbits with excitement. We worked so hard for this. Of course, the blue tomatoes from before didn't count in his mind. They had appeared under unusual circumstances. Since the ones we grew after the blue moon don't count, this is our real harvest. Determined, Sejun reached out toward the plump, juicy tomatoes, his hand trembling slightly with excitement. I'm going to harvest them. Now. Sejun's fingers trembled as he reached for the ripe cherry tomatoes. The rabbits held their breath, their round eyes fixated on his every movement. With a gentle tug, the cluster of tomatoes snapped off the vine effortlessly. Wow! My first cherry tomato, Sejun whispered, marveling at the vibrant red fruit in his hand. The moment the stem detached, a notification window popped up. You have harvested a cherry tomato. You have gained 10 experience points. Sejun's eyes widened. Experience points? He hadn't expected farming to grant him levels. Another message appeared, describing the tomatoes' properties. Magical cherry tomatoes, infused with the energy of the blue moon. These tomatoes enhance vitality when consumed. They possess a slight sweetness and tanginess, making them more flavorful than ordinary tomatoes. Magical cherry tomatoes? Sejun muttered. The description seemed similar to the mysterious blue tomato he had found before. Holding the bright red tomato in his hand, he couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. So they really are special. Sejun examined the cherry tomato in his hand, feeling a bit puzzled. Its effects are minor, but it's still amazing. If one tomato can do this, imagine what will happen if I eat an entire meal of them. Curiosity sparked in his mind. Could it be that other harvests might have effects too? As if responding to his thoughts, another system message appeared. You have harvested a well-ripened magical cherry tomato. Excited, Sejun quickly plucked another tomato from the vine. You have harvested a normal cherry tomato. His excitement faded as he stared at the new notification. Wait, this one isn't magical? He furrowed his brows. Unlike the previous tomato, this one didn't grant experience points or have any special properties. So, experience points only come from the magical ones? Sejun sighed. And my job doesn't guarantee that every harvest will be special at all. He turned the tomato over in his palm, realizing something crucial. Right. So I have to keep harvesting to find the magical ones. Looking at the vast tomato field ahead, Sejun let out a deep breath. This is harder than I thought. Determined, he crouched down and continued his work, hoping to uncover more of the rare, magical crops. A system message appeared before Sejun's eyes. You have leveled up. You have obtained 1 bonus stat points. Sejun's eyes widened. Whoa, am I really level 4 already? He glanced at the basket filled with ripe tomatoes. This should be enough for now, right? Feeling a mix of excitement and hunger, he picked up a cherry tomato. Let's have a taste. He tossed the tomato into his mouth, chewing with satisfaction as he took a few steps forward. But before he could fully savor it, Pia! Pee! The baby rabbits all turned to him, their eyes sparkling with expectation. Sejun blinked, frozen in place as their collective gaze bore into him. Then, a stern voice cut through the moment. "We did this all together, so shouldn't we all get to taste it too?" Sejun turned to see the white rabbit in a farmer's hat, staring at him with a serious expression. "Ah ha ha ha! Sorry!" Sejun scratched his head, feeling a bit guilty. The farmer rabbit, still unimpressed, gave him a pointed look. "Don't use flavor as an excuse." PPI. The other rabbits chimed in agreement. Sejun chuckled nervously. All right. Everyone gets a share." He quickly set the basket down, preparing to divide the harvest fairly. Sejun stood proudly before the rabbits, holding up a basket full of freshly harvested cherry tomatoes. "Let's all celebrate the successful harvest of the cherry tomatoes," he announced with excitement. The rabbits gathered around eagerly, their eyes twinkling as they each picked a tomato. "Thanks for the meal," Sejun cheered as he popped a tomato into his mouth, and the rabbits followed suit, happily munching away. The juicy fruit burst in his mouth, its rich flavor spreading across his tongue. He chewed once, twice, then suddenly, his eyes widened in shock. "Peek!" A jolt ran through his body. Something was off. Sejun lay on the soft grass, staring up at the endless night sky. The rabbits nestled beside him, their tiny bodies warm against his side. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, carrying a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. Then, a streak of light shot across the sky. "Whoa," he murmured, as fireworks suddenly exploded above him, painting the darkness with brilliant colors. Flashy bursts of gold, red, and blue shimmered like a festival, as if the sky itself was celebrating with them. Fresh scent of grass, the starry night above, and now even fireworks, he whispered in awe. This is just like summer. A soft smile spread across his face as he closed his eyes, letting the moment sink in. Summer. Sejun took a bite of the freshly harvested cherry tomato, savoring its rich, juicy flavor. The rabbits eagerly munched alongside him, their little paws gripping the fruit as they nibbled away. PPI? The hat-wearing rabbit tilted its head, watching Sejun closely. Then, in an instant, the baby rabbits sprang into action. "Pee-pee! Pee-pee!" They dashed around, swiftly carrying tomatoes and green onions in their tiny mouths. Sejun blinked in confusion as he watched them skillfully transport the freshly harvested crops to their storage pile near the fire. He let out a small chuckle, shaking his head. Kids. Sejun lay on his makeshift bed of leaves, watching the rabbits diligently store away the harvested crops. They're big enough to help their parents now, he mused, feeling a sense of pride. They really are the children of the farmer white rabbits. With a deep sigh, exhaustion crept over him. I feel sleepy. I should just sleep now. He curled up, wrapping himself in the leaves for warmth. You did a great job today, Park Sejun, he muttered, reassuring himself before closing his eyes. As sleep took over, a sudden notification window popped up beside him. But before he could react, a barrage of system alerts echoed through the night, abruptly interrupting his rest. Frustrated by the endless demands, Sejun threw his hands up. Okay, I'll get you some. He quickly grabbed a handful of tomatoes, hoping to satisfy the unseen force pressuring him. A new quest notification popped up. The manager of the tower is pleased. Quest reward, open. Sejun sighed. Damn it, they're forcing me to do things. At least give me something useful this time. As the system processed the reward, he braced himself. Please, let it be something good. Quest reward. Job-related skill. You have obtained harvest. Reading the description, he realized the skill ensured all harvested fruits would be in optimal condition, even if they were slightly overripe or underdeveloped. Sejun's face twisted in disbelief. Why do I need a harvesting skill? He grumbled, but before dismissing it completely, a thought lingered. Is what I thought, but Sejun's eyes widened as he stared at the system window. It's more useful than I thought. The Harvest V1 skill wasn't just about gathering crops. It had an effect that activated whenever he harvested slightly unripe or overripe fruit. A visualization appeared before him. explaining how the job experience points were granted when he harvested unripe magical cherry tomatoes. Thanks to that, his farming progress was much faster than he expected. I don't have to wait for the perfect time to harvest. I can just pick them early and still gain experience, Sejun realized. This will save me so much time. Feeling somewhat satisfied, he stretched. Shall we take some rest? Just as he was about to sit down, a new system notification popped up. Quest triggered. Sejun's expression darkened. I knew it was time. He squinted at the details and immediately frowned. No reward? You are a freaking thief. Sejun let out a sigh, handing over a batch of cherry tomatoes. Well, your last quest was helpful, so I can give you this much. Here, take it. The rabbits watched as he placed the tomatoes down, their ears twitching in curiosity. You have completed a quest. But before Sejun could relax, another notification popped up. Again? He turned to look at the new system window, his face twisting in frustration. The quests kept piling up, one after another, each demand greedier than the last. Getting greedier without an end in sight. Another system message appeared. A quest has been triggered. Offer 500 magical cherry tomatoes to the tower manager. Reward? None. Refusal. Death. Sejun's eyes widened. Why is the number increasing? The bold letters on the notification burned into his vision. 500 cherry reward. None! His hands trembled as he clenched his fists. You greedy thief. Sejun stared at the unreasonable quest notification, his frustration boiling over. Then, with a firm voice, he spoke. No. The air around him felt heavy, as if the very tower itself was waiting for his response. I refuse. A system message immediately popped up. Manager of the tower is surprised. Sejun let out a slow breath. This is ridiculous. You can't just keep demanding more without giving anything in return. As he stood there, staring at the floating message, he realized something. This was the first time he had outright rebelled against the tower manager. My diary of getting lost in a tower has now recorded its first act of defiance. A message popped up before Sejun. The tower manager says you've only sown the seeds. It asks you not to overreact over something that's not a big deal. Sejun's eyes twitched. His grip tightened. Not a big deal? He exhaled sharply, his patience running thin. No, I don't want to. I'm not giving it to you. The tower had taken too much already. He wasn't about to just hand over his hard work without a fight. Another message appeared. The tower manager is flustered. Sejun smirked. Good. Let it be flustered. Ignoring the notification, he turned his back and returned to his field, the rabbits hopping beside him. The tower wanted to push him around, but he wasn't going to let it. Not anymore. Sejun sat by the fire, surrounded by the rabbits as he finished his meal. Suddenly, a notification appeared before him. The tower manager is extremely furious. He scoffed, leaning back. Oh, furious, huh? And what? You're going to threaten me again? Another message popped up. It says you might die. Sejun let out a dry chuckle, his eyes narrowing. I don't want to go to the one who reaps. I want to be the one who sows the seeds. More notifications appeared in rapid succession. The tower manager replies that everything in this tower belongs to it. The tower manager warns that its generosity is limited. Sejun clenched his fists. That's why I'm not giving it to you. His voice was firm. This wasn't just about the tomatoes anymore. It was about his survival, his efforts, his will. You forcefully made me do this job, and now you won't even recognize the effort I've made. Only a complete fool would fall for this exploitation. He stared at the glowing text coldly before continuing. Didn't you say you were the tower manager? Then act like one. The air around him grew heavy as dark energy crackled in the distance. You're a bad employer. And with that, the tower manager is shocked on what Sejun said. The towering presence seemed to hesitate, as if reconsidering its actions. The oppressive aura wavered, and for a brief moment, it almost looked like the tower manager was about to apologize. The tower manager panicked. I'm sore. But before it could. Without thinking, Sejun shoved a handful of magical cherry tomatoes into his mouth, chewing frantically. The juicy burst. of flavor was the only thing grounding him as the tension in the air thickened. The tower manager is angry because you ate the magical cherry tomatoes yourself. The tower manager says very well. You from now on will bear the cost of the quest. Sejun sighed, holding out a small handful of tomatoes. Fine. Just take 5. He turned his attention to the rabbits, their eager eyes locked onto the remaining tomatoes. I'll hand over the rest later. I need to make sure everyone eats. However, before he could fairly distribute them, chaos erupted. The rabbit babies, realizing the limited supply, began bickering and shoving each other, their tiny paws swiping desperately for the last tomatoes. The tower manager says it will compromise for this one time. Sejun let out a small sigh of relief. Thank you. The glowing system window vanished, leaving him in silence. He glanced at the rabbits, who had finally settled down after their little scuffle. At least that's one problem solved. For now. As he sat there, the reality of his situation weighed on him. The tower manager. It's trickier than I thought. He looked up, his gaze drawn to the sky beyond the cave entrance. The eerie glow of the night signaled something significant. Day 91 after I got lost. The 4th blue moon. Sejun clenched his fists. The last blue moon had nearly killed him. He had no idea what this one had in store. Sejun sat curled up inside the cave, wrapped in his leafy cloak, gripping a magical cherry tomato. His expression was tense as he stared at the glowing fruit. I'm eating this, but... He hesitated, rolling the tomato between his fingers before taking a cautious bite. His mind wandered to something he had heard before. I heard that people with high MP can withstand the roar of a monster to a certain level. The memory of his terrifying encounter with the monster from the last blue moon flashed through his mind. His grip tightened around the remaining tomato. It'd be better if... What happened that time doesn't happen again. The air outside felt eerily still. He peeked towards the entrance of the cave. I hope the blue moon quickly passes without any issues. Just as he finished speaking, a sudden surge of energy pulsed through the air. The plants near the entrance began to glow and sway unnaturally. Sejun's eyes widened in shock as shimmering light cascaded over the vegetation. Something was happening. Sejun's breath hitched as he watched the strange phenomenon unfold before him. The plant? His eyes widened in disbelief. The tomato vines in front of him shimmered under the eerie glow of the blue moon. A faint hum filled the air as energy swirled around them, wrapping each fruit in a soft, mystical light. Then, it happened. One of the tomatoes, still yellow and unripe just moments ago, suddenly pulsed with energy. With a bright flash, it transformed into a deep, vibrant blue. Whoa! The entire plant trembled as if responding to the moonlight, the transformation spreading through its veins. Sejun could only stare in awe as the once ordinary tomato now radiated with magical power. A grin slowly formed on his face. I can't wait to harvest it. Sejun's eyes widened as he spotted something unexpected. Huh? Not only were the tomatoes glowing under the blue moon's light, but now even the nearby sweet potato vines were shimmering with the same mystical energy. No way, he muttered, stepping closer in disbelief. The soft blue glow surrounded the leaves, pulsing as if the plants themselves were breathing in the moonlight. His heart pounded. Even the sweet potatoes are absorbing the blue moon's light? This was something completely new. If this strange energy affected more than just his tomatoes, what exactly did it mean? I need to check it. Without wasting another second, he rushed over, dropping to his knees and carefully grasping the vine, his fingers trembling with excitement. Sejun carefully dug into the soil, his hands trembling with anticipation. What if... As he pulled, the ground gave way, revealing something extraordinary. Whoa! His breath hitched as he lifted a glowing blue sweet potato from the earth, its surface shimmering with the same mystical energy as the blue moon. A notification instantly popped up. Sweet potato. Infused with the energy of the blue moon. A sweet potato cultivated in the tower, enriched by the lunar radiance. When eaten, it grants resistance to cold and boosts energy for a brief period. Sejun's eyes widened. Sweet potato. He couldn't believe it. His crops weren't just growing, they were evolving. Another notification chimed. You have harvested a sweet potato with the energy of the blue moon. Your job experience points have increased by a great deal. Harvest Levanter 1 proficiency has greatly improved. Harvest Levanter 1 proficiency. That is... Sejun's excitement surged as he looked at the vines still glowing with potential. If this was what he could harvest now, what other secrets did the blue moon hold? Sejun carefully plucked another blue sweet potato from the vine, its radiant glow illuminating his face. Ahaha, whoa! He burst into laughter, overwhelmed by the sheer success of his harvest. Holding the luminous vegetables in both arms, he grinned. It's as if I have the world in both of my arms. However, his excitement was short-lived. Additional quest has been triggered. A quest has been triggered. Offer 500 magical cherry tomatoes to the tower manager in exchange for a job-related reward. Reward. Refusal. Death. Sejun's face darkened as he read the ominous message. I knew this would happen. Handling 2 quests at the same time was too risky. One wrong move could cost him his life. It might actually kill me if I just keep accepting these quests. He weighed his options. Then, making his decision, he lifted a basket of cherry tomatoes and sighed. I'll finish the overdue quest, the one where I'm handing in the magical cherry tomatoes to you. A notification instantly appeared. The quest has been completed. The tower manager is happy with the magical cherry tomatoes in the basket. Sejun exhaled in relief. 1 down. But what's next? A message popped up in front of Sejun. The tower manager is muttering. What are you doing? He smirked, glancing at the message. What do you mean? I gave you the tomatoes, didn't I? He looked at the glowing blue sweet potatoes in his hands. Now, these beauties are mine. Another notification appeared. The tower manager believes that you will hand over the sweet potatoes later. Sejun rolled his eyes. Yeah, keep dreaming. Holding up a sweet potato, he examined it closely. So, what should I do with this? A mischievous grin spread across his face. What should I possibly do with this delicious-looking sweet potato in my mouth? He closed his eyes, inhaling the rich, earthy scent, then took a confident bite. Suddenly, an explosion of flavor burst on his tongue, his whole body tingling with energy. Gosh, the freshness, the flavor, and the texture. His eyes widened in pure bliss as fireworks exploded in his mind. You have consumed a sweet potato infused with the energy of the blue moon. Your MP permanently increases by 0.2. Sejun clenched his fists in triumph. This is perfection. Sejun groaned, clutching his stomach. I can't hold it anymore. The hunger was unbearable. His body screamed for food. A crackling fire burned brightly before him, flickering against the cave walls. He tossed in some leaves. It's a shame there's no tin foil here, but I have the all-purpose onion leaves. He grinned, wrapping his precious sweet potatoes carefully. Sitting by the fire, he let out a satisfied sigh. Ho ho ho. As expected, waiting for delicious food is the happiest time. Sunlight streamed through the cave opening, marking the start of a new day. Meanwhile, the wooden door to the rabbit den creaked open. A group of baby rabbits peeked out cautiously, their tiny voices chiming. PPI? PI? Their round eyes scanned the area, curiosity and hunger filling their tiny expressions. They had smelled something delicious. Sejun turned his head at the sound of tiny voices. PPE? A swarm of baby rabbits stood before him, their noses twitching as they sniffed the air. His face lit up. Guys! What great timing! With a proud grin, he lifted the leaf-wrapped food. I present to you sweet potatoes infused with the energy of the blue moon. The rabbits' eyes sparkled as they eagerly hopped closer. Pee! They squealed in excitement. Sejun chuckled. It's not much, but let's eat together. As he unwrapped the meal, the delicious aroma filled the air. The baby rabbits, unable to contain themselves, lunged forward. PPI! Startled, Sejun flinched as the husband rabbit rushed in, stopping them. Sejun blinked in confusion. "What's wrong?" The baby rabbits hesitated, looking between him and the single sweet potato. Their worried chatter filled the air. He raised an eyebrow. "Do you want me to eat it myself because there's only one?" The hat-wearing rabbit stepped forward and gave a firm nod. P. Sejun's heart swelled with emotion. "Husband rabbit, you're the only one thinking about me. I'm so moved." He wiped a fake tear from his eye, secretly vowing, "I'll never tell him I already ate one in secret earlier." With a dramatic sigh, he lifted the sweet potato. "Then, I'll eat it." Sejun eagerly bit into the Blue Moon sweet potato, expecting warm, fluffy goodness. Instead, "It's hot!" His eyes widened in horror as scalding heat spread across his tongue, burning like molten lava. Instinct took over. His hands flailed, and before he could think, the precious Blue Moon sweet potato slipped from his grip and tumbled onto the ground. The husband rabbit froze in shock. Its eyes widened as if the world had just come crashing down. But before it could react, the baby rabbits moved. They devoured it. Sejun, still clutching his burning mouth, could only stare in stunned silence as the baby rabbits happily munched away, their fluffy tails wiggling in satisfaction. The husband rabbit was horrified. Its ears drooped. Its paws trembled. It slowly turned to Sejun, its expression one of pure betrayal, as if saying, "How could you let this happen?" The baby rabbits, faces flushed red, desperately fanned their mouths with their tiny paws. Steam practically poured out as they hopped around in panic, tongues sticking out in agony. They had snatched up the dropped Blue Moon sweet potato without hesitation, but they hadn't expected it to be burning hot. Their tiny feet pitter-pattered against the ground as they ran in circles, trying to cool down. Meanwhile, the husband rabbit looked on in shock, ears twitching in distress. Sejun, still rubbing his burned tongue, finally noticed the devastation before him, and his missing sweet potato. All that remained were a few scraps of purple skin, scattered on the ground like the remnants of a battlefield. As the last wisps of steam drifted away, Sejun let out a sigh, staring at the evidence of his fiery defeat. "My diary of getting lost in the tower. I ate a fiery hot meal today." The end of his dinner. Sejun gathers the rabbit babies in front of him, standing confidently with his arms crossed. The rabbits look up at him with curiosity, waiting for him to speak. He then gestures toward the sweet potato sprouts on the ground, showing them what they will be planting. The rabbits seem a bit confused at first, tilting their heads in curiosity. Sejun continues explaining, pointing out that the sprouts are the same as what they recently ate. At this realization, the rabbits react with slight hesitation, possibly recalling how hot the sweet potatoes were when they ate them earlier. Some of them seem to flinch, as if remembering the burning sensation in their mouths. Sejun then gives them a strict warning, making it clear that they are not allowed to eat the sweet potato sprouts for now. His expression is firm, emphasizing the importance of the rule. The rabbits, however, look unsure, some staring at him innocently, while others glance at the sprouts with interest. Despite his clear instructions, it's uncertain whether they will actually follow his orders. The baby rabbits have developed a strong liking for sweet potato sprouts, eagerly munching on them whenever they get the chance. Their enthusiasm for this new favorite snack has made it difficult to keep any sprouts intact. Sejun, realizing the sprouts are disappearing too quickly, attempts to reason with the rabbits. However, their excitement and love for the treat make it clear that simply telling them to stop won't work. To solve this issue, Sejun decides to expand the planting area so that they can grow even more sweet potatoes. Knowing that the rabbits might be more cooperative with the right motivation, he tries to convince them to help with the planting in exchange for a special snack later. Sejun excitedly announces a special snack, instantly capturing the attention of the baby rabbits. Their eyes sparkle with anticipation as they eagerly focus on him, their tiny bodies twitching in excitement. Having already developed a love for delicious food, the promise of a treat easily wins them over. With their motivation at an all-time high, the baby rabbits energetically line up and start working together to expand the planting area for the sweet potato sprouts. Their small paws dig into the soil with surprising efficiency, showing just how much they've learned from working alongside Sejun. They move in perfect sync, pulling out weeds and making space for more crops. determined to earn their promised reward. As Sejun watches the rabbits work, he shifts his attention to the farmer White Rabbit, who is carefully tending to a patch of green onions. Remembering an important detail, Sejun calls out and asks if one green onion can be left untouched. He explains that by allowing the plant to bloom, he can collect its seeds and secure a steady supply of green onions for the future. His farming knowledge continues to grow, and with it, his plans for sustainable food production in the tower. Sejun contemplates the process of turning crops into items, realizing that he first needs to plant seeds to achieve that effect. His understanding of the tower's mechanics continues to evolve as he strategizes how to make the most of his farming skills. Meanwhile, the baby rabbits eagerly take charge of the planting process. One rabbit enthusiastically digs into the soil, its tiny paws rapidly creating a hole. It works with incredible determination, ensuring that the planting space is well prepared. Another baby rabbit quickly follows, carefully placing a sprout into the freshly dug hole while looking completely focused on the task. With smooth coordination, the other baby rabbits jump in to assist, pressing down the soil to secure the sprout in place. Finally, a rabbit proudly pats down the dirt with its leafy accessory, as if to finish off the job with a flourish. The teamwork among the rabbits is remarkable, and their enthusiasm for farming mirrors Sejun's growing passion for cultivation in the tower. The baby rabbits continue their planting efforts with full enthusiasm. They scurry across the field, each carrying small sprouts in their mouths, working diligently to expand their farm. Their tiny paws pat the soil, ensuring each plant is secure. One particular baby rabbit proudly holds a newly planted sprout, looking pleased with its contribution. It clutches a leaf tightly, determined to play its part in the farming process. Another rabbit follows suit, carefully tending to the soil with focused precision. Meanwhile, the husband rabbit, wearing its signature hat, steps in to assist. With a small watering can, it begins sprinkling water over the newly planted sprouts, ensuring they receive proper nourishment. The dedication to farming is evident in its expression. As the rabbits work together, Sejun watches their progress with a satisfied smile. Standing near his flourishing tomato plants, he holds a basket filled with ripe cherry tomatoes, appreciating the teamwork and the fruitful outcome of their labor. Sejun successfully harvests a batch of ripe magical cherry tomatoes, receiving system notifications about his progress. His harvesting skill proficiency slightly increases, and he gains experience points, leading to his level up. With a bonus stat added, he reaches Tower Farmer level 8, marking significant growth in his abilities. Feeling accomplished, he confidently decides to turn the freshly harvested tomatoes into snacks. Setting up near a small fire, he begins preparing the meal, eager to enjoy the fruits of his labor. As he holds a cluster of magical cherry tomatoes, a sudden system notification grabs his attention. The tower manager seems to be watching him closely, intrigued by what he is about to cook. Noticing the unexpected interest, Sejun turns around, puzzled by the system's message. What could have caught the tower manager's attention this time? Sejun, noticing that the tower manager is keeping an eye on him, smirks to himself. It seems like his actions are drawing more attention than expected. Deciding to proceed with his plan, he calls out to the rabbits, gathering them around the fire for a special treat. The baby rabbits, excited at the mention of food, eagerly rush over, carrying green onion leaves as they join in. With a confident smile, Sejun presents his latest creation, roasted cherry tomatoes bone skewers. Using the piranha bones as skewers, he carefully roasted the magical cherry tomatoes over the fire, enhancing their sweetness and making them softer. A system notification confirms the successful preparation of this unique dish. Now, it's time to taste the results of his experiment. The baby rabbits excitedly grab their skewers of roasted cherry tomatoes, their eyes sparkling with joy as they take their first bites. Even the husband rabbit holds a skewer proudly, savoring the special snack Sejun prepared. Sejun, watching the scene, smiles as he explains how convenient the skewers are for eating. Since they're fresh off the fire, he reminds everyone to blow on them before taking a bite to avoid burning their tongues. With the rabbits happily munching away, Sejun shifts his focus to the sweet potato sprouts. Seeing that they've grown well, he decides it's finally time to harvest some sweet potatoes for dinner. Grabbing a small tool, Sejun begins to dig into the soil, carefully searching for the hidden treasures beneath. As Sejun continues digging, he suddenly pulls out a large bundle of sweet potatoes, completely intact with their vines and leaves still attached. His eyes widen in excitement as he marvels at the harvest. A system notification appears, identifying them as strength sweet potatoes, a special crop cultivated in the tower. These potatoes aren't just nutritious, but also grant a temporary strength boost when consumed. The effect lasts for 10 minutes and can be stacked up to 5 times within an hour. However, if not eaten within a certain time frame, the effects fade. Seijun counts his harvest, realizing he managed to pull out 5 sweet potatoes per vine. He's quite satisfied with the yield, noting that it's a pretty good return for his effort. But then, as he glances down, he suddenly remembers something: the sweet potato sprouts he had just planted. Seijun carefully takes one of the sweet potato sprouts and begins replanting it into the soil, ensuring it's properly placed. As he does, he reflects on how it would be a waste to leave even a single potato unused. Suddenly, a system notification appears, informing him that he has successfully planted the sweet potato sprouts. It also confirms that his sowing skill has slightly increased, indicating that planting crops like this directly contributes to leveling up his farming abilities. Realizing that planting all the sprouts could further increase his skill, Seijun decides to go all in and plant everything. However, before he can act, he notices the baby rabbits enthusiastically digging the soil, trying to help. Panicking, Seijun quickly shouts for them to stop, waving his arms frantically. He insists that he'll handle the planting himself, determined to maximize the skill growth while ensuring the sprouts are properly placed. In a dimly lit room filled with stacks of books, a mysterious creature with sharp claws is seen casually snacking on a skewer of roasted cherry tomatoes. The creature hums contentedly as it takes a bite, seemingly enjoying the meal. However, as it chews, its expression suddenly twists in disgust. Something is off. The creature pulls the skewer away and examines the tomatoes more closely. Realizing what went wrong, it hurriedly spits out the food, its mouth burning with an intensely bitter aftertaste. Clearly, the roasted cherry tomatoes didn't turn out as delicious as expected. After spitting out the roasted cherry tomatoes, the mysterious creature ponders for a moment. It wonders why the humans seem to enjoy the dish so much, despite its bitter taste. Now intrigued, it decides to check on the human responsible for preparing the dish. With a wave of its claw, the creature activates a magical orb, revealing a real-time vision of Seijun, who is happily surrounded by baby rabbits. The scene shocks the creature, leaving it in disbelief as it exclaims, "Impossible!" The mysterious creature is now furious, slamming its claw down in frustration. It rages over the fact that sweet potatoes are being roasted without its involvement. This powerful being is none other than the great black dragon, Aileen Fritten. Meanwhile, back in the cave, Seijun is casually eating with the baby rabbits when a new notification window suddenly appears. A new quest has been triggered, demanding that he offer a roasted strength sweet potato to the tower manager. The problem? Refusing means death. Seijun lets out a deep sigh, already realizing the struggle ahead. Seijun, unwilling to immediately comply with the tower manager's demand, tries to postpone the quest. Surprisingly, the tower manager accepts, but modifies the request. Now, Seijun must still offer a roasted strength sweet potato, but only if he doesn't need it for himself. Looking at the last remaining roasted potato, Seijun wonders if he can at least negotiate a reward in return. To his relief, a new quest is triggered, this time offering a job-related skill as a reward. Realizing the risk of refusal still means death, Seijun reluctantly hands over the sweet potato, officially completing the quest. As a reward for completing the quest, Seijun acquires a new job-related skill: Lavernton 1 Seed Store. This skill allows him to purchase one product from the seed shop once every 30 days. Shocked and amused, Seijun questions why the tower manager would give him such a skill now of all times. Without hesitation, he activates the seed store skill to see how it works. A system window appears, showing his transaction history, which, of course, is completely empty since this is his first time using the shop. Seijun realizes that he's starting from scratch and wonders what he can buy. Seijun starts to wonder how he can make a purchase from the seed store since he has no money. He considers whether bartering is an option but isn't sure how the system works. Suddenly, a system notification congratulates him for becoming the first rookie-tier customer of the seed store. As a special welcome gift, the store deposits 1 tower coin into his account at the seed bank. Seijun is shocked and excited to receive this unexpected bonus. He quickly realizes that tower coins are a form of currency used within the tower, with a market value of approximately 1 million won. Now that the seed store is officially open, Sejun eagerly wonders what he can buy with his newly acquired tower coin. Sejun learns that as a rookie-tier customer, the seed store will randomly display 3 types of seeds available for purchase each time he uses it. However, he can only buy 1 seed type at a time with his current status. The system reveals the 3 available seeds for today. 1. 1,000 red pepper seeds, 0.1 tower coin. 2. 1,000 cabbage seeds, 0.1 tower coin. 3. 1,000 carrot seeds, 1 tower coin. Seeing the selection, Sejun realizes that only seeds are sold in the store, which makes sense given its name. However, he's shocked at the high price. For example, 0.1 tower coin is roughly 100,000 won for just 1,000 seeds. He considers his options, but hesitates on buying red pepper or cabbage seeds since making kimchi isn't practical in his current situation. Sejun, still deciding which seeds to purchase, notices the last remaining option. Since red pepper and cabbage aren't practical choices, he wonders, then what's left? As he checks the final seed option, he realizes it's carrots. This immediately grabs the attention of the rabbits. The rabbits, especially the husband rabbit, react with shock and excitement upon hearing the word carrots, start energetically chirping and hopping around, making a big fuss. Sejun is caught off guard by their sudden enthusiasm, turning around in confusion and asking, "Huh? What's wrong?" As the rabbits continue their excited outburst, Sejun, noticing the rabbits' intense reaction, asks if they want to eat carrots. The moment he says this, the husband rabbit and the baby rabbit's eyes light up with excitement. Suddenly the rabbits start jumping frantically, their little feet pattering on the ground as they enthusiastically chirp and cheer for carrots. The excitement escalates quickly, and the rabbits begin to chant, "Carrot! Carrot!" Their voices echoing through the cave as they rush towards Sejun in a frenzy. Before Sejun can react, the husband rabbit leaps onto his face, knocking him backward as the rabbit's overwhelming enthusiasm turns into a chaotic stampede. Sejun successfully purchases 1,000 carrot seeds, with 0.1 tower coin being deducted from his seed bank account. As a bonus, he earns 1 seed shop mileage point, which can be used to increase his level in the shop. A notification informs him that he needs 100 mileage points to level up, making him realize that it will take some time to fully unlock the shop's benefits. Suddenly, a small red pouch appears, sparkling with magical energy, containing the 1,000 carrot seeds he just bought. The elegant packaging surprises Sejun, making him question why the pouch looks more expensive than the seeds themselves. As he picks it up, another notification thanks him for using the seed store and informs him that he can access it again in 30 days, leaving him both excited and slightly annoyed at the waiting period. After completing his first seed store purchase, Sejun is perplexed as a notification appears, indicating that the tower manager is satisfied with his purchase. He can't help but wonder why the tower manager is the one feeling happy instead of him. Holding the red pouch filled with carrot seeds, Sejun turns his attention to the rabbits and declares that it's time to start planting the carrots. The baby rabbits eagerly respond, excited to help with the new crop. As Sejun reflects on his first trade at the seed store, a mysterious creature is shown watching from afar. A bee-like insect with vibrant purple eyes is perched on a plant, seemingly observing the new developments in Sejun's farm. Its presence hints at something significant, possibly foreshadowing an upcoming encounter. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on our next exciting recap. New videos will drop.